All right. Good evening, Ever Peoples.
Ever Peoples. That's a good one. Try.
Ever
I'm gonna have to
Peoples.
write that down.
Welcome to our good old reliable Coury replacement, the 8-bit Duke.
I've got more hair than Coury, but I live in Ohio too, so I guess it works out. Coury can't make it. Old Duke comes in.
Got your good old slime stacks in the background as
Yep.
always.
Yep. They're keeping me good company as we count down the days to old Dragon Quest 11. So
You know, the big bummer about the Dragon Quest 11 release date is it uh releases the day I think it's the day we fly to New York. We're going to spend a few days in New York City shooting some stuff for future episodes, and then we're going to Retro World Expo from there. Is that right?
So by the time you guys get back, I'll have it beaten because that's always what happens with me.
Okay, it comes out.
I beat Octopath in like 5 days. So,
I would have loved to have done that. Man,
no, you didn't. It's oh man, that's 80 hours. That's rough, but it's good. But
I don't know. You know, there's something about when you actually have the time to binge on a game.
I mean, I'm not saying I had the time. I'm saying I found it at like 5 a.m. But there's a couple days at work where it's like, Therion's pretty. What do you mean? What? It's just pretty good.
But
and your dog is assaulting you.
She needed to make sure I was okay from my laughter. but
somebody needs to gift that. That should be a Patreon bonus that you get to gift the stream.
I've been playing all this week. I was, after finishing the 4K episode, I was going to treat myself to playing the new God of War. Because I bought a bunch of 4K and HDR games, kind of to beef up,
to make an episode out of it.
To make an episode out of that stuff, because I had some, but I felt like I needed more. And even with the more I had, I still felt like I was showing the same games all the time. But I was like, I paid $60 for this. I don't normally buy like AAA games for $60 anymore, unless it's like freaking Dragon Quest 11 or
which I'm spending $150 on.
But
I have 2 copies of the Japanese one. Try it's not a stretch, I suppose.
I was going to I was going to play that this week after to unwind from finishing that, but I ended up last Sunday and Monday. I was like, well, before I start God of War, I'm going to finish the interim story that happens between a Realm Reborn storyline of Final Fantasy 14 and Heaven's Ward, which is the first expansion, which has been out for like 3 years or something by now. But
I think it was one of the first ones.
It's the first expansion. But I mean, I'm just so really behind. Stormblood, the second expansion, came out last year. So anyway, but you have to to access those areas, you have to do this interim storyline, and it just been on the back burner for years because no time and whatnot. And I was like fairly close to finishing that. So last Sunday and this past Monday, I was working on that. And then Monday I finished that story, and the last part of that is so good. And I was like, oh, I can't leave it here. And now I'm most of the way through the expansion. This is all I did last week was play the first expansion storyline of Final Fantasy 14. It's super good. I know most people who are all opposed to numbered Final Fantasies being MMOs wouldn't want to believe it, but it's seriously the base game story. I mean, it's good. It's fine. It's not amazing, but it's fine. It's good.
I mean, I recently, because I found out, and I did not know this, and maybe it's been true for a while, that Final Fantasy 14 had a Mac version, like a legitimate, actually could play it on a
I
Mac.
guess
So I
that's
was
true.
like,
I kind of forgot.
I was like, oh well, I actually might be able to get a hold and play this. So I have delved into it toe first, and then La Mulana 2 came out, and I had to beat that, but I haven't yet. So I'll revisit Final Fantasy 14
Well,
soon.
I play the PS4 version.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So you play the one that I should have been playing for 4 years.
but
I was like, oh, it's a computer game. I gotta play it on the computer.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like the expansion story is probably like the best Final Fantasy story since like 9 to me. Like
wow.
It's super good.
Pissed off like 9,000 people just now.
Yeah, probably because I didn't say since 10, but
Well, no, since 9's a fair one. 9's fair. 9's good. 9's the best one, I think. So.
I mean, I don't consider 9 the best one. Although 9 is often my recommendation for like, where should I start? Well, 9 feels like a good entry point. It's sort of
I would say the PSP version of 4 myself. Don't play the after years one, but play the mostly because it's the prettiest of those versions. But it's Final Fantasy 4. If how many times can you own one game? About 7. They're all different.
The PSP version of 4 is really good.
It is good. Yeah. The PSP versions of 1 and 2 are really good. I actually started to like 2 a lot more when I played it on the PSP, and I used to hate Final Fantasy 2.
Yeah, it is not a favorite of mine. But
once you figure out how to game the system a little bit, you just beat yourselves up a good bit, and then
I didn't really know anything, and I really screwed up my characters. I mean, I beat the game on the PS1 version, but it did not go as well as I would have liked. Yeah. So
what's this thing you're telling me about this Earthbound Zelda?
Yeah, well, so I mean, Coury is very, very good at pointing to small print run games and being like, you should get that.
So when we've gone and shot stuff, and we've gone to stores, you, me, and Coury, or you, Coury, and I, excuse me, and Coury's always he's just got that gaze, says that deal finding, just like the Terminator, just like target acquired. That's a deal. But he never gets it. He always comes up to you or I, and he's like, you should get that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, of course, Coury.
You see, Baldur's Gate's only $20. You should get that.
Yeah, but he did get this as well. But I mean, I was kind of on the fence, but I decided to. The interesting thing is, like, this is a Play Asia exclusive, and like they do like small print runs, really about the same size of print runs as a lot of limited run stuff. But they stay in stock for a pretty long while, and so I've had this for like a month or two, and it's still available for PS4 and Vita. And for whatever reason, it just kind of struck me, maybe I want to play that today. And I looked on Play Asia, and it's still there. So, I mean, I thought, hey, maybe people would like to see it. And maybe they'd like to buy it.
Is you say Play Asia exclusive, that's just the physical version, because you can download this
yeah.
PlayStation Network.
They've been doing quite a few of those, actually. These, like...
I mean, like I was telling you earlier, before Limited Run did a version of Wonder Boy and the Dragon's Trap, that remake, I got it on Play Asia because it has the English version on the disc. And I Am Setsuna, I believe on the Switch, is the same deal. It's the English version is on that game. What else I bought a few things from there, and I can't think of them off the top of my head. I need to get Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 on the Switch from there.
I think the only other one that I got...
play that version.
I think the only other Play Asia exclusive I got was Cursed Castilla EX, which is very good.
It sounds like a bad Scrabble hand and not a video game title.
It's good. It's kind of very inspired by Ghouls and Ghosts.
Coury played that.
Coury was big. He played the PS4 version. I skipped that, but then after seeing him streaming, I got the Vita version when that came out.
I remembered that game now. Yeah, that did look like fun.
This is showing
I'm digging this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is showing I played for 34 minutes, but I've only played for like maybe 10 or 12, and it's just been idling.
I was gonna say you've had it paused while we set things up.
I just wanted to get past like the opening story and stuff before I started.
You don't want to spoil the the cinematic.
No, well, I just wanted to, I didn't want to sit through because we try to avoid too much any sort of story-driven type stuff.
Right.
Not for the audience's sake, but just because it's hard to pay attention to stuff. So, but I think it is mostly going to be kind of action gamey. So, yeah. So,
I'm digging the Minish Cap style like menu system so far. That was something that looked pretty cool. And this guy's room is filthy. Look at those socks. This is a Pajama Sam's quest over here.
Oh, did I just get some matches? Darts.
Those don't look like any kind of darts I've ever seen. They do look like matches, like blue steel matches. Actually throw them.
How do I actually equip? Maybe that's an automatic item.
So
I'm visiting my grandparents on this island, and my grandpa sent me into the basement to get something. And I guess grandpa's basement is
You're not talking about your actual granddad. I'm like, try. I've seen your house. That's your house.
my grandpa lives in the exact same house.
So granddaddy in this game, Binding of Isaac you into the basement.
Well,
less violent.
Hopefully not. I think he wanted me to get a storybook or something.
Fine, go Ness. Go down in the basement, get your granddad pop-up book. I love that kind of video game.
Sandy, don't walk on top of all the controllers that are all over the floor, please.
Silent Wake 5 says he's been watching a lot of iRetro Gamer lately, who always shares a lot of really cool, home movies and stuff from his youth, and wants to know if you've had any cool family stories that you can remember about playing a game or getting a game. And the only one I can think for you is my B button just won't do.
I mean, in terms of what I've got on VHS tapes, yeah, that's about as good as it gets. Sandy, you're saying
you weren't the
You're saying on top of all the controllers. I've got a mess on the floor, saying. Because I'm testing out the retro tink. And it's causing me to get a lot of wires run out across the floor. Yeah,
a lot of composite wires.
Don't be stepping on my. Don't be stepping on my controllers.
Well, how much do I have to donate on Patreon to get you talking to your dog all day?
How do I get past...
Sandy, you better make sure that TV's 240p compatible before you go buying HD Retrovision cables.
Let's see. I don't understand. Like, I'm hitting like R and triangle, but it's not. Oops.
It's gonna sound dumb.
It's not actually equipping anything.
Well, in Zelda games, to lift certain things of a certain weight, you need to get the gauntlet or the Goron bracelet. Now, this man may be just dinky enough not to be able to lift some darts.
Maybe I have to roll into these boxes a certain way.
Can you push the ones on the right?
Nothing seems.
That kid's head is huge. Like it's the size of his whole body.
Maybe.
Somebody says attack the boxes.
Yeah, I'm trying.
But I feel like I was gonna say I thought you did that.
Oh, wait a second! I swear I did that. Maybe not. Whatever.
So you've got the retro tink, and you were telling me it's a little bit like an OSSC for the stuff the OSSC doesn't do, which is composite NES video.
Yeah, I mean, much less fully featured for sure, but you know, it's more comparable to say the OSSC than the FrameMeister, but it does have composite NES video.
So who's the case audience for that for? Somebody who says, I got my Genesis out here. I don't want to get no framey.
Yeah.
But I still want to play Shining in the Darkness on my 4K TV.
Yeah, I mean,
and their TV may lack a composite input, which is a thing.
Right.
My TV, my new TV doesn't have a
right. It's
composite
basically, I would say the primary audience is probably that person, but they're aware of input lag, and they don't want input lag and stuff. So they're the generic scaler on Amazon, that just won't do.
You mean yeah, the HD one, HD 1080p SCART box with Prime.
Yeah,
only $299. There's a reason it's that cheap.
but yeah, so there's that though. But what's interesting, and I haven't done a whole lot of testing with this yet, but you can connect the HDMI output to like a lag-free VGA converter, which they actually sent me one with it. And you can buy them with the unit for like $10. And whoa, that's
Sonic the
brown hog,
the neglected hedgehog there. Artie McFly asks if the RGB modded Super NES Junior will work on an OSSC with a 4K TV. So I have that exact setup, and totally depends on the TV. That's the issue. The console's never the issue, which you guys have. I didn't understand it first until I rewatched the OSSC video like 50 times, but the refresh of the NES RGB and the Super Nintendo are the culprits of them not working.
It was actually
it's like the difference between like 60.08 hertz.
Yeah, it was actually explained to me that that's less the reason of the incompatibility and more to do with like some weird it's hard to explain. It's like it's this issue where like one line of video, and I assume it's a line that's not even visible, but one line of video is like shorter, like on some frames and longer on other frames, and that's what causes the issue.
Yeah, that's but
it's, I mean,
it's still the issue of your television or your monitor, which your 4K TV might have a better chance than your 1080p monitor.
From what I've seen, generally speaking, yeah, it's a little better off, but in general, but
because like my cheapo deluxe Hisense TV that I sent you footage of for the 4K thing of Monster Hunter running on it, that plays the NES RGB at 5x 1200p 1080p overscan, whatever, like a dream. It looks great. Super Nintendo goes black every 5 seconds. I can't play it on, and I have the Junior that Voltar modded for me for RGB, but it does the same thing on my stock original, not the one chip.
Yeah. I mean, I've not known like one chips or non-one chips to have any particular difference in terms of how compatible.
Right. What kind of granddad has switches like this in his basement? Fast son, you went down to the basement. Now you got to play with my doohickeys down there. I have heard about the dejitter board, and Troy was actually telling me about that a couple weeks ago, and it's just one of those things, just haven't gotten around to do it yet.
Yeah,
I'm so into the NES right now, I've been neglecting the Super Nintendo, which I'm trying to remedy that a little bit.
Oh, that's a...
Whoa. That's a transition for you.
Yeah, there's something about this game is that the certain things are not bound to the pixel grid, which I kind of disagree with, but it for the most part it's fine.
Oh,
Possessed tumble dryer. Oh no.
What is hey, this is a Boston Panic restaurant. On
is
the
it
NES.
really?
I believe you do fight. You fight a microwave, not a washing machine, which makes more sense because it's a Panic restaurant. It just big white box with a glass piece in the middle. It made me think of that.
I sure would like to equip those darts. I don't understand why I can't equip them.
You don't have to hit the two buttons together. I mean, that wouldn't make any sense.
I mean,
there's
a triangle button and an R1 button, equip button.
Yeah. I don't know. That was a weird noise when you hit that. Like,
yeah, it's a little bit like the whir sound in Link to the Past.
Yeah. I'm digging the music. I can only kind of hear it through your mic because I'm got the stream muted. But wow. So somebody says you need a dart gun to use the darts.
Oh.
You need to get a Nerf launcher from Walmart before you can launch darts. Now I get why they look like that, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Thankfully, we should have kept talking about the darts because I think we would have got that answer a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
Gramps' old book. I don't think I want to know what's in Granddad's old book. This is my war book. This is me at the Hawaii after we launched. I have additional questions. You skipped the cutscene, so I had no idea that we would be talking to a disembodied dryer face. I'm definitely getting, the Earthbound aesthetic, but also the Earthbound storytelling thing. Is this kind of going to ask you to cut off your legs and ears and eyes, like poo?
That sort of was like the Majora's Mask, like between dungeons area.
Clocktown?
No, after you beat the dungeon, there's like this white platform area that you're on where you see the giants.
Where they're with the weird guys with no thighs.
Yeah.
Moon. Or even, I guess sort of like an Ocarina of Time where you get the medallions.
Yeah, but it made me think more
of the
that
Majora
whole
sick waterfall, dude. So you got the book, you went back to bed, and now you're gonna give it to Grandpa.
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess I teleported.
This is Earthbound as heck.
I teleported into my bed from the basement, I guess.
That's creepy. Good way to sneak out, though. A flying kiwi. That's a rare sight indeed. Also impossible, but because kiwis don't fly, right?
I'm pretty sure they don't.
I
mean, I did play Kiwi Craze. You could kind of flap and just barely slow your fall.
you can Yoshi hover your way down there.
You delay your fall by like about 1 frame each time you tap the A button. All right, well, he's just setting me loose, I guess. What kind of money did I get in there? Oh, I've got 44 money.
44 money.
I don't know what
people from New Zealand fly all the time. Yeah.
I don't know what they use in New Zealand.
Well, I mean, it's their bird. They're allowed to use it however they like. If they want to fly, they can fly.
Yeah, what's the...
At least, I mean, I hate it when people are like, "Oh, you're from Ohio, you're a Buckeye." And I'm like, no, I'm a person. I'm not a poisonous nut.
I don't understand why Zinni's Mobile Cafe says open 24/7 and it's clearly not open. It has not been open since starting this game.
We call that a lion marketing. And that's going to get you a real angry Twitter conversation with somebody who's going to take a picture and it's going to go viral. And they're going to be like, "Oh, no, we have to respond now because our bottom line's on the line." Just terrible. Okay, so Canton, Ohio. I'm in Columbus, so that's, you know, we got a lot of sea cities in the old great state. Golden Jupiter asked if you have heard of Nitro Rad. I have. I've been watching him for, I think, a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. He's a pretty cool dude. He's got a lot of, he's looked at a lot of interesting stuff. He's the one who, he made a video that told me about Lisa. I'd never heard of Lisa, the RPG Maker game, before his video, and turned me onto that. And I thought it's pretty interesting, Earthboundy in style, not humor, other than the fact that it's weird kind of way. It's a lot more violent than Earthbound, but still pretty cool. Oh, you're gonna need the Zor flippers before you can go swimming, man.
Yeah.
I thought that was a hot air balloon at first instead of it was just a yellow tree.
There's different types of feathers to collect, and
I was gonna say, is that like Rock's feather, or is that just?
I'm assuming they'll extend something as I collect them.
Yeah, if you get all the feathers, you can assemble a bird to actually fly for you.
Oh.
I'm guessing.
I mean, that sounds about right.
Now, definitely, when I looked at screenshots of this game before, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I get that it's anything with a flat color style is a bit of, you know, Earthboundy style, and that's just what it is. But I do like the overall aesthetic here. A lot of little details are nice. I also was worried that the map wasn't going to be as like compact as it is. So Artie McFly asks again about an OSSC and a 4K Samsung TV about Sega consoles, and it's the same thing. You know, usually the display's the culprit, but I think
Sega's more likely to work.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have the same issue as the Super Nintendo and the NES RGB are like the big ones.
Yeah.
Mine work just fine.
And again, is the resolution, you know, is you 4x, 5x, you know, whatever scaling mode you
right. Like
use.
In my case, on my TV, I can only do 5x or pass through in some stuff, or 4x in the case of like 480i stuff. Like
oh,
PS2.
you can't do 4x for 240p stuff.
Not at least on the NES. I haven't tried with the Genesis.
That's interesting. See, I wouldn't expect that to cause much problem.
Yeah. And every now and then the 5X, I'll have to like either turn the console on and off again or turn the TV on and off again. I think just to line it up a little bit better. But that's very rarely I have to do that, because sometimes it'll like every 5 minutes the screen will go dark for like 10 seconds, and that's just it losing that sync or something. But for all I know, that's just me having a hallucination. This guy's name Grumpy or Crumpy?
Crumpy.
His mother must hate him. That's a terrible name.
Wait. He gave it to me without getting his thing?
Oh, you have to go to the hot spring to get it.
Oh, okay.
But now you have no obligation to actually help him. I mean, you've been paid up front. That guy did not look like he would go to the hot spring, though. It looked like he had flies buzzing around.
He did. I mean, he has the membership, but he clearly doesn't use it.
Yeah, Aaron, I don't have a dejitter mod. Trice told me about it before, so I haven't.
Yeah, I don't
had
have
any
it
experience
either.
with it yet. But
I don't really.
I want one, because if it works, I mean, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I don't intend to get one just because. I mean,
you pretty much already
I'm really set
stuff,
right for now.
Yeah, your stuff works.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, my TV costs less than $300 for 4K HDR compatibility. I know there's going to be a few little things that wouldn't work with it, but I'd hope the Super Nintendo would have been one of them through the OSSC, but unfortunately not. But I just, I still got the FrameMeister, so my capture card doesn't work with the OSSC at all anyway, so I still have to use the FrameMeister if I want to, record any goodness. Which I've been trying to toy with what are some things I could do for the old YouTubes. Was playing a lot of Palomides on the NES earlier today. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, I'm not.
Little dice toss game. It's you got 6 like rows, and these like dice fall, and they've just got different sides on them, 1 through 6, and you need to make hands by shooting matching dice at them, and after you get like a pair or 1 through 6 like in that order, you can push down on the D-pad and it'll clear a certain amount of lines. And when you clear a certain amount of lines, either through destroying them with the dice or doing that, you get points and you advance to the next level. And it was addictive. I played it for like an hour today, and I got to like level 15 or something. And then I did like a tournament when I finally got a game over. But it's pretty good.
I just remembered, maybe relevant to your interest. We played on the Backloggery stream last week. We played Deja Vu.
Ooh, your boy Duke loves me some Mac Ventures.
Yep.
Considering I've done 5 videos, I think, on a Mac on the Mac Ventures.
Now, how would you rank them?
How would I rate them, like in order of my favorite?
Yeah.
This is it's a fluid list. It's a living document. Deja Vu and Shadowgate are usually very close to each other. Shadowgate usually wins out a little bit because of its length. Deja Vu, if you know what you're doing, can be very, very quick. And it's a big trial and error thing. If you don't like really pay attention, you might walk into the police station at the end of the game with an item that incriminates you that you thought was a clue. Right. So you have to like really think about that stuff. Because if you just have like one thing, you're done. It could be like the picture from the glove box. It says, "Hey, Ace, drive here." That's it. You're done.
I think if I remember right, it wasn't letting us throw away anything. That
you have to do it in the sewer.
Right, but it wasn't letting us throw away anything that
that was actually good to keep.
Was actually good.
Yeah, yep. That is the one thing. You can't.
So it was. I mean, it was a lot nicer than Shadowgate in terms of Shadowgate is pretty mean in the sense that you can fail pretty easily and screw yourself over if you save at a bad time.
Yes. Frank in the chat says Uninvited is convoluted. Uninvited was the first one of the ones I reviewed on my channel. So it's the worst review of them because it's 4 years old now. Before I had a personality. That's absolutely true.
And
now this is from Panic Restaurant. Uninvited on the NES version is a little bit easier than the Mac version, only because you can put away an item that curses you. So in Uninvited, there is a gem that you can get, this little ruby, and it's, oh, shoot, treasure, I better pick that up. And then immediately after you pick it up, every few moves, you start getting sick. Your character like starts seeing visions, and then eventually you die. And the only way to stop that in the NES version is to just get rid of the ruby. In the Mac version, I think it's either that is a permanent thing that just happens, or as soon as you pick the ruby up, it's just a ticking time bomb. You're just going to be done.
Yeah, we played Uninvited several years ago.
Uninvited's I like Uninvited for the spookiness of it sometimes, but then like when I played it again, when I reviewed the 8-Bit Adventure Anthology on PS4, which has all 3 of the games, I remembered that like it's not really spooky. It's just got really good detailed close-ups of zombies and stuff. But it's got a lot of dead-end stuff. There's a lot of things you could do that just will kill you no matter what. Shadowgate may have things that seem pointless, but they're usually items and not areas. If you can go somewhere in Shadowgate, there's usually something to either get there or do there, with very few exceptions. Uninvited's got a number of them. Deja Vu is, instead of trying to get to the end point, it's trying to solve the mystery. So I've always appreciated that they're very different from each other. Now, I'm gonna approve a comment here that I think got flagged because it says the A word in it, but old YouTube gets a little talk about TV quality. Starts being like, hey, is this appropriate comment, Mr. Moderator? You better check this out. Have I ever played Princess Tomato? Oh, heck yeah. When Coury did a little video on the Wii Shop closing, I got the honor of making an appearance on that and talking about Princess Tomato being one of the games you should pick up before the Wii Shop closed.
Which I did on your word. And I was actually thinking about playing it tonight, but decided I was
if you get bored of this, I'll walk you through Princess Tomato. You can do it.
I wasn't quite feeling up to starting an adventure game like that tonight.
It is a longer one too.
Yeah, because I remember when I was capturing some footage from it, like I just was putting in random passwords, and there's like a lot of chapters in it.
There are, and there's a lot of different passwords because there's a lot of different items that you can get. So usually when you beat the chapter, Percy, your little persimmon boy, they have different passwords for them. But Percy will get rid of some useless items.
That's right.
But some you want to keep, like money and juice.
Oh, look,
you got to keep the juice.
Kiwis.
This game. Is this game in New Zealand or what?
I think it's an island off the coast of New Zealand.
A
small island, a fictional island.
Oh, make believe. There's another. How many feathers have you gotten now?
3 or 4. I know that in the bedroom there's a feathered journal that shows what feathers I have. Maybe I don't know if they're just collectibles that do nothing, or
I have to imagine they got to do something. Like it's gonna be like, you need 9 feathers to pass this gate.
Maybe, yeah, basically a Goemon gate pass, huh?
Something like that.
I need some of these rats to drop some pizza because I'm going to die.
Somebody tweet that. I need some of these rats to drop. I need that shredder guy. Not shredder. Who's Splinter? Is he the one who trains the Ninja Turtles?
Yes, of course.
I didn't grow up with the Ninja Turtles. I'm not familiar with the canon as well as I should be. I played the NES games and that was about it.
I got a pretty cool deal several weeks ago. If you heard me talk before about our local store, The Grid, which is it's Goodwill, but it's like owned by Goodwill, but it's like games and computer stuff, like the stuff that you go to Goodwill to get a deal on, except they basically charge what
they
it's
send
worth.
it to The Grid.
Yeah, they basically charge what it's worth, but sometimes you can get pretty decent deals, and usually the stuff is in super good condition for some reason. I don't know why, but it's like, yeah, I don't. It's almost in weirdly good condition, just like how consistent it is. But
I haven't bought anything from a Goodwill since we were in Indianapolis.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You're just picking feathers up like the wazoo.
What?
Wow. You know, That's a good joke, game. But I wasn't expecting it to go there. Obviously, why?
But I got a pretty good deal because they always have like buy two, get one on all games. Like, and that includes like games behind the case, so to speak. But the thing is, they
under the velvet rug. There,
yeah.
The
but they always only have like one, maybe two things behind there that I would be interested in. And you know, so I'm always like trying to scrounge up like a free PS2 or Xbox game or, you know, some junk.
Yeah, my thing when I run into deals like that is it's always like, okay, I've got $30 I'm comfortable spending here. These two things are, you know, however much. Nothing else that I would want to try to bundle it up with is going to get me anywhere that I want. Yeah. So, you know, if I see two things that are 25 each and I've only really wanted 30, then I'm not going to try to make the deal. I'm just going to get the one thing. Stick this in my feather journal. Maybe they are useless. They can't be, though.
Oh, but I'm not running across very much that is useful. But anyway, so they actually had, behind the case, they had, you know, talking about Ninja Turtles, remind me, they had Turtles 4, which is not a cheap game.
No, yeah.
They have for $40, which is actually not a bad deal for it. It was $40. They also had Klonoa 2, which I'd been meaning to buy for some time, $30, which is a fair price for it. And Blackthorn for Super Nintendo, which was also $30. And
that sounds about right.
So I consider Blackthorn the free game because that's the one that I would have been least likely to buy, but I've always been interested. So yeah, free Blackthorn in that deal. That was
free Blackthorn.
Yeah, that was goodbye, I reckon.
I came real close to buying a copy of Nosferatu.
Oh yeah. That's a little pricey, isn't it?
It was about. I saw it for $65, but the label had a little flaw in there.
Do you have any history with that game? I've always been.
I've played it. I've never owned it. I've played it through what some people who think that MU Paradise shutting down was a righteous act of the Lord above, through the Super UFO Pro 8. I've played it on emulators before and stuff like that. It's a very interesting game. That's why I do want to try to find it, but I'm not going to spend $80 on it on a loose Super Nintendo game just because I thought it was semi cool. But it's a neat Prince of Persia style kind of experience.
I always liked the backgrounds in that game, but I've never really played it. But I've always been cautiously curious.
How do I describe the gameplay experience? Very tedious. There's a scene pretty early in it where you have to slide under this trap or this like stone wall kind of thing, and I, for the life of me, could not figure out how to just do it. And you have to like dash and like hit the jump button while holding down and something weird like that. But for whatever reason, I couldn't pull it off right. And then all of a sudden I did, and now I can do it just fine. But it's one of those games that like reading the manual ahead of time is very good because it doesn't seem like you have a lot of moves in it until you actually learn how to do them.
Yeah, I got a couple months ago, several months ago, I got the Genesis version of Flashback.
Oh, interesting.
And I've got very limited experience with like rotoscope style games, but I always wanted to try them. And I just could not get into it. Like I played like 3 areas into it, and I just was not.
I have a similar experience with Flashback. Yeah. It's like, oh, I really want to. This seems like it would be right up my alley, but then it's like there's something about it that just seems so monotonous or something weird like that.
I was just not feeling it. The the whole process of like drawing your gun and aiming and shooting was very cumbersome.
That Nosferatu has a very similar thing because to attack you have to ready your attack.
Yeah.
So if you're standing, then you have to like arms up. Now, granted, that's a very quick thing, but it's still, you still have to know about it and do it. And it's also a thing where if you have these power crystals and if you get hit, like if you run and you don't stop yourself and you run into a wall, you'll lose your power crystal, which is how you do certain moves. So it can be very detrimental to not have that, and not knowing the controls really does that. Flashback, I think, is kind of similar to that.
Yeah, from the bit I played of Blackthorn, it has like this like tutorial mode basically, and so I played through that, and it controls way better than Flashback in my opinion. And
yeah, I haven't played Blackthorn in a couple years.
Yeah, I really like sort of the cover system. Like you could just like slip into the background like everywhere.
Yeah,
like that's
it was a 32X game too, wasn't it? Or there's a 32X version?
Yeah, but if I remember John Linneman showed it in his
the DF Retro.
His 32X DF Retro, and if I remember it like the graphics are redrawn and look really weird. Like the style of the Super Nintendo one was much better, if I recall.
Do you think that's one of those things where it's like the version you played first looks better?
Maybe.
Because
I forget what it looked like. I want to say it was like kind of like a weird, like sort of pre-rendery type thing. You know, pre-rendering of that era.
You know, so here's a childhood game that I had an experience with recently. There was a game I played for the longest time. I would rent from the store, and it was Tasmania on the Super Nintendo. And it is a game that has like a super hang-on Rad Racer kind of style course where it's a 3D course and you run and you have to eat, ironically enough, based on this game, kiwis, because that's what the Tasmanian Devil did in the Looney Tunes cartoons, I suppose.
Wait.
That guy, he ate.
Do kiwis live in Tasmania? I thought they were only in like New Zealand.
Well, according to the lore of the Looney Tunes, I believe they do. But the thing with this game is, in my head, my nostalgia vision was thinking that this game was fast, it was fluid, it was fun. You had to dodge oncoming cars or some guy, a bus coming behind you, and the kiwis were on the course at certain points. So if you missed one, you had to run back and eat it. And then after you ate them, Taz falls asleep and all the kiwis jump out of his mouth. So nobody dies. But so I found it the other day for like $4 and I bought it. It's terrible. This game, I was like, oh yeah, man, it's been like 15 years since I've played it. I was so like weirded out about it. I thought it was a Genesis game for the longest time. But Tasmania on the Genesis is a totally different game. A worse game, actually. But when I found it on the Super Nintendo the other day at a local store, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. And it
it is not.
I must have had bad taste as a child, I'll say that. Maybe the game's fine and I've just gotten a little less pedestrian in my interests, but no.
I remember for whatever reason renting I did not rent very many games in the NES day.
I didn't because I'm significantly younger than you though, but
yeah, I don't know why, but you would have thought I would have been into renting games back then. Yeah, but for whatever reason, Super Nintendo was my big rental period, and then N64 for a couple years, but then got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm really good at knowing what games I'm gonna like, and I'm feeling really bad that I'm wanting to buy the games I rent, but then I beat them or almost beat them, and then I feel like I'm wasting my money if I buy them. But anyway, so I rented like the ones that I really remember were the Lolo games, and like I've always had a big soft spot for some Lolo, because I rented a couple of those, I think. But the only other ones I remember renting was Cool Spot and some Wile E. Coyote game.
Was it Desert Demolition on the Sega Genesis?
No.
Because that's the best Wile E. Coyote game ever.
I didn't have a Sega Genesis.
That's right. You used to beat up the kids that said Sega Genesis was better.
This was an NES game. If I remember right, I want to say it was a Tengen cart. I'm not super. I don't really have any interest in Tengen carts, so I'm not like super knowledgeable about what Tengen carts there are. But I feel like it was a Tengen cart.
And some of them eventually did get a license, like Gray Kart release too. That's the weird thing with Tengen stuff. Like Pac-Man, I have two versions of Pac-Man, the same Tengen game. One's black cartridge with a slant, one's a normal one. We call that a print variant. So Desert Demolition is a Wile E. Coyote and his Roadrunner game on the Sega Genesis, and this was another game that I rented that is still as good as I remember it being. But it is there's no music, which is the worst part. If there is music, it's when you're moving, because in the cartoons, when the coyote does this coyote thing, it's like that makes, it plays music, so they thought that would be a good idea to put in the game, and it isn't. But you can play as either the Roadrunner or the Coyote, and the Coyote, the object is to catch the Roadrunner, and it's the Roadrunner's to escape. And there's traps. You can get stuff. You can get the rocket shoes, the spring jump stuff, all this stuff. It's pretty wild. But the fact that you can play as either character was really neat. So my brother and I would take turns, playing the Coyote and then the Roadrunner, and then switch back and forth, and it was pretty good. But it's a Genesis game, and I found it I'd say about 6 or 7 months ago now, with the manual, which I'd never saw when I rented it. And the manual, I'm kind of glad it was never there, because it's useless. It tells you nothing about the game. It's like, hey, catch the Roadrunner, you gotta eat. And it's like, yeah.
Coyotes gotta eat. Last game I ever rented. Last game you ever rented from Blockbuster or whatever. For me, I believe it was Xenosaga Episode 1 on the PS2. I think for me, I didn't rent from Blockbuster very much. In fact, the only game I specifically remember renting from Blockbuster was Tetris Attack, because I really wanted to play that, but my local video store didn't have it. Or I'd say local video store. It was like it was a small chain.
And where I grew up, we had this place called Tapes Unlimited, and we had Crow's Video Nest, and they both smelled like chain smokers, like painted the walls with their ashes. But they were, just those names like give me crazy nostalgia. I used to rent Final Fantasy Origins on the PS1 from Crow's, and that's like 2001, 2002. So I'm, 11 or 12, and I beat those games by renting them a few times because they had memory cards, and I loved the fact that memory cards were a thing, because then you could just rent a game a few times and beat it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Unlike when I would rent Super Mario RPG and I had to start over again because some nerd erased all the saves on the company cart that they rented.
Yeah, I didn't rent a ton of PS1 games, but I rented Xenogears, Metal Gear Solid.
I own a sealed Final Fantasy Origins Greatest Hits, because apparently they still print them.
Yeah,
because it was like $10.
I think there's certain systems they won't run on or something, because they're like silverback discs.
I haven't opened it yet. I don't want to ruin the value. Yeah, 2003, and I was wrong about that, but it's because I was trying to forget what year my parents got divorced. But that's why I was renting a lot of video games, because I was going back and forth between houses a lot.
But the last game I want to say I rented from Video Show Place was,
that's a name.
Yeah, Video Show Place.
Video Show's Place.
Yep. I think probably Ogre Battle 64, and like because that was like pretty late in 64, and I wasn't really renting much at that time anymore. But I remember it came out, and like I rented it, and I just couldn't get into it. And
what game was it again?
Ogre Battle 64.
Oh yeah.
I just couldn't get into it.
I had a similar experience with most N64 games.
Hey now. But I couldn't get into that. Oh, is this it?
You find that dude's yo-yo yet?
I think I found the place with it. Oh my gosh. Oh,
that's an Armos.
We got some Armos here. So anyway, I rented that. I just couldn't get into it. And what kind of critter is this?
What kind of critter is this? I can't wait for your Discovery Channel show. What kind of critter?
What kind of critter? What kind of, oh, is that a koala?
Blinky?
But anyway, so I couldn't get into Ogre Battle 64, and I feel like that might have been like the last game I rented for a long time, or I might rent a few more. But then like I was bored one weekend. I'm like, I haven't rented a game in so long. It'd be nostalgic to go rent a game.
How'd that work out?
And I went back. I couldn't find anything I wanted. I thought, you know what? I'm going to try Ogre Battle 64 again. I still couldn't get into it. And then I like not too long ago, I was capturing some random N64 stuff and loaded up a Ogre Battle 64 ROM, and I was like, oh.
I'm not dealing with this illegal nonsense.
And I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I was like really into the visual style.
Isn't it crazy what a college degree will do for your video game interests?
I was really into the look, and I was like, oh, I don't know, this seems pretty good. And then I got to the first battle, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember why I couldn't get it.
Oh no! I thought this was gonna be a story of redemption.
No, it wasn't. No, like I tried Ogre Battle 64 3 times, and I could not get into it.
Man.
Even recently, I just like, but I want to like it. Like, it's got good music, it's got good visual style. Like, I want to like it. I do.
I find there are a lot of games out there that are ones that I'm always like, oh yeah, I really want to get into that because like it looks so good and like it will do a lot for my credibility. But then you play them and it's just, there's something about them that's just like, am I having fun? Am I enjoying that? And for me, it's almost every old school, super old RPG, like Wizardry and Might and Magic on the NES especially. And I know they're old and they're archaic and games have evolved since then, but like I really want to sit down and experience them, but I just wind up just like not being able to focus well because it's just, there's not a lot going on. But I've been trying to play Might and Magic on the NES recently because it has really good music and really interesting graphics. But I'm not sure if I know how to save the game right. I go to the inn. I think it says like, "You want to save?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then I don't like know if I actually did or not. And I wandered around forever before I realized I could even add people to my party, and I had no idea. This is why when you download ROMs, it should come with the manual. Now that MU Paradise is gone, you can still get manuals on MU Paradise. People just throwing that out there.
Yeah, is it like just like a straightforward RPG or what is it?
It's one of those first-person dungeon crawler kind of things. Now, the thing is, I like first-person dungeon crawler RPGs because I love Dungeon Magic on the NES, as well as Advanced D&D Pool of Radiance, which, admittingly, for combat has a tactics system instead of the first-person thing. But Dungeon Magic is really neat because it is one of those like first-person fight the stuff, do whatever thing. With a weird HUD and all that kind of stuff, but it's got music, it's got fun combat. It's a little bit more forgiving too, I think. Might and Magic, I think I just need to figure out how to actually play it right on the NES. I really haven't done that.
First-person dungeon crawlers is something that I'm interested in, but like have never gotten too deep into. I played the first Etrian
Someone says
Odyssey.
Someone says you need to go to the side entrance. I think wherever you just were. Sorry.
Turn back to the area before the yo-yo guy and go to the side entrance. I don't know if the yo-yo.
Start paying for these hints.
I don't know if the yo-yo has actually like increased my abilities.
Well, it increased your swag.
I mean, obviously. I didn't see a side. I mean, there's an X on the map, which I'm assuming that means do go there and not don't go there.
Yeah, X means please avoid.
But I mean, it's near here. Are you saying like the weirdo's compound has like a?
Is there a
entrance?
We're gonna solve this. We're gonna solve this game. They said before the guy's compound though, so I don't know. Unless you can go around that thing. Use your yo-yo on that switch. There's a switch somewhere.
Oh.
I'm just watching this thing through this tiny little Discord window, and I'm still like, is that a switch?
I see what you're saying. I didn't realize that the yo-yo increased my capabilities. It's definitely. I mean,
well, it's a Zelda game. Every time you get a new item, it's like I got to use it on this thing and this thing and this thing just to see what it does.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta respect that this game.
So that throws me off because I wouldn't think that yo-yo would go through a solid wall, but I'm assuming that wall is actually like
more of a fence, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this game, I gotta respect that kind of just sets you loose in the world and.
Yeah.
You just kind of gotta do.
There's something to be said about that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's very NES-like in that regard, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I've enjoyed popping in a few games and just like, what do I gotta do? Because it's one of my biggest complaints about Ni no Kuni 2, which just had a DLC update, so I've been trying to play that again. There is no way to get rid of the current quest goal HUD thing on the screen, and it's the worst because I have the same complaint about Octopath's who you can talk to icon for townspeople. I hate it. There's so many people you can't talk to, so I get that they need the distinction. I would have rather not had the no talkie NPCs.
See, I actually like Final Fantasy 12, like. Mm-hmm. I feel like was one of the first games I saw that was like that, where like if you, it's not always visible, but I think it's only like when you're getting closer to them, like there's like a hi, you can talk to me.
Oh man, I haven't played Final Fantasy 12 since the original for not very long, unfortunately. I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I do think I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, and like that
Yeah,
was I
that's
actually
fine.
really liked that because it let them populate the world more without and in a way I feel like it also reduced the number of people that I have to talk to because like talking to people in RPGs is like I actually kind of liked that you didn't do that in Final Fantasy 13 because it's more of a compulsion than something that's actively fun, if you ask me. Like it's like I have to talk to these people, and I do so thoroughly, but it's not necessarily fun.
Yeah, I don't like homework in my video games, which is why I have been playing Mario's Time Machine lately. Yeah, Final Fantasy is an interesting. Oh, is this a dungeon?
This is a dungeon. I got to another dungeon.
It had a whole title card and everything. Like this is an episode. This is the Deku Tree, man.
This is.
The Deku Tree got hardwood floors.
Yeah, and there's like.
Which I mean, it's a tree. I guess it would.
There's like part of the floor over there that I can't walk on, and it's weirding me out.
Wait, where is it?
Like over here.
Oh, that's because you can't walk on your icon. Duh.
I don't think that's
Yeah,
it.
you know what? Get the bug report out.
It's weirding me out.
You've seen it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
There could be a reason for it, though.
Ace Bug Hunter try here. Killing animals and trees. finding the invisible wall. I play enough D&D to know that that's some dude with an invisibility spell just like, go away, stop bothering me. Did you have a Funko Land try? I never heard of it until I got on the internet in the mid 2000s.
I'm surprised you've never heard me gush about Funko Land.
I mean, I have, but the chat's asking about it. I'm trying to be a facilitator of the conversation.
Yes. Funko Land. Man, I loved Funko Land. Like, you know, even though NES was like only one generation retro at that point, like I credit Funko Land for getting me into, you know, games that weren't current. I mean, see, I got into Super Nintendo pretty late. I didn't get mine until late '94. So when the N64 came out, like, they offered such different games, and I still had so much catching up to do on Super Nintendo, that, like, it felt like it made sense to keep playing Super Nintendo.
Right. I mean, they were making Super Nintendo games until, like, 98 or 99. To
some extent, yeah. It's more so in Japan.
Not a lot. Yeah, not a lot, but I remember
the point. But
Kirby's Dream Land, Harvest Moon. Yeah.
But yeah, so I played them pretty equally, and then I started regretting that I no longer had my NES, because like I just totally lost interest in my NES when I got my Super Nintendo, because I had Super Mario All-Stars. And like,
yeah, why do you need the first 3 games?
Yeah, so it's like
you got convenience and a graphical upgrade.
If it wasn't for Super Mario All-Stars, I probably would have kept my NES. It's not that I didn't like the other games I had, but I was just like, whatever. I'd rather I don't play this anymore. I'd rather sell it and save up for N64. And so yeah. But anyway. Like, I realized you could get, like, all this old stuff at Funko Land, and I started, like, hearing about all these games that, internet was starting to come into my house, and I was starting to learn about all of these games that, I had Nintendo Power as well, and I was just hearing about these games that's like, man, I missed so much in the NES days.
I mean, since I've been getting into collecting stuff more, like old Nintendo Powers and stuff, it's interesting to read those, because I didn't get Nintendo Power until it was a until you got the Paper Mario 64 strategy guide as a sign-up bonus. That's when I had it. And I remember I was quite upset that the strategy guide came about 3 weeks after your first issue of Nintendo Power did. And so was my dad, because he called them, because I was like, I thought I was gonna get them both at the same time. I need to figure out how to beat the Cloud Man, but that is a true story. I did not know how to beat the chapter of the Cloud Dude in the garden where you get the Lakitu and Lakitu, whatever the Cloud guy with the spinies names are.
I say Lakitu.
And I say Lakitu, I think is right for me. It feels right. It comes off the tongue naturally. I needed a little extra help. I needed my steroid strategy guides. But now I buy strategy guides anytime I see them for games I've never even played or heard of. I didn't know there was a sequel to Magna Carta until I bought the strategy guide for it the other day.
But yeah, I mean, you know, so Funko Land was really my, you know, kind of gateway for getting into not current games, and you know, because you could just go there and you could buy so many NES games. It was also like a really good time to be starting to get interested in RPGs, because I was able to get most of the major Super Nintendo RPGs, you know, for $20 to $30.
Right, and I mean they're expensive now, but they were still $60 to $80 games, because I remember RPGs on the Super Nintendo being more expensive.
But I was able to get used
originally.
Yeah, I was able to get used copies of stuff that's a lot more expensive now. You know.
Oh yeah.
Final Fantasy 4 and 6, Secret of Mana, you know, all that kind of stuff. Chrono Trigger was always
Chrono
expensive.
Trigger.
Chrono Trigger was, I mean, that was $70 even back then. But yeah, so it was just a good time.
Chrono Trigger was so expensive on the Super Nintendo when I was a kid. I had to get it on the Final Fantasy Chronicles collection. There's Anthology and Chronicles. I think one of them had Chrono Trigger.
Chronicles. Anthology came first and had 5 and 6.
5 and 6. Yeah. Chronicles makes sense because Chrono. Come on, Duke, you have a degree here.
I mean, they were sold separately in Japan.
Were they?
Yeah, I've actually got just from a friend gave me a copy of standalone Chrono Trigger. Japanese.
That makes sense, because on PS3 they're separate. You buy them as their own things. How about that loading at every random battle? How about loading every time a text box showed up? Because that game was low.
Yeah. You know, my memory of Final Fantasy 4 was that the PS1 version was really good, but
it was good because it had a better script.
It did have a better script, and or at least at the time, I remember thinking it was.
Yeah, at the time, the Game Boy Advance and the PS4 version, or PSP version, are the good script versions, I think.
But I remember it being really good, and I remember it playing very similarly. But I've always heard people talk bad about it, and I've not really gotten around to putting much more time into it. You know,
I believe the reason for that is because one version has the active time battle bars, one doesn't. So you don't know how they're behaving. The effect is still there, and it was the first active time battle one. Some versions have bars, some don't.
I don't think the PS4 version shows the bar, but I could be wrong. I don't think it does.
PSP?
Probably PSP.
PSP no has the bars. I know Super Nintendo.
The PS1 one. I mean, it looks just like the Super Nintendo one. By the time I remember it loading fast in comparison to.
Oh man, you got to fight the Choo Choo now.
I remember it loading fast in comparison to, 5 and 6 and Chrono Trigger.
5 and 6 were like you could go make a drink in between loading.
5 was not as bad as Chrono Trigger and 6.
Maybe.
I mean, I always gave that. I've always given the PS1 version of 5 a pass. I mean, yeah, it's not as fluid as the Super Nintendo version, and it's got a pretty bad translation. But I've always given it a free pass because I mean, it was our first version. Yeah,
and I had never played it on an emulator beforehand, so I really didn't know either. But I never played the Game Boy Advance version of 5. I played the Game Boy Advance version of 4 and 6. I have played the mobile and Steam. I played the mobile versions of 4, 5, and 6. They're identical to the Steam versions. Just one you can play with a touchscreen, one you don't. 6 Steam Mobile got a lot of crap because it's got cutesy sprites and they are kind of but the speed of the game feels amazing. I mean, it feels snappy, more so than the Super Nintendo version in my memory did. Now I need to go back and play the Super Nintendo version again, but
yeah, I'm just glad I've still got my battery still works in that, because I can always, always good to get a little bit of the Falcon flying around the world of Ruin for some G-roll.
Always good to get that little Mode 7 action. I did love the GBA version of 1 and 2. And like I said, 2 I was kind of soft on for a long time until the PSP version, but I love the little extra dungeon at the end of Final Fantasy 2 in the GBA version. I don't know if that's in the PSP version, actually. The whole where you play as the dead guys in the party who died during the game.
I never did. I beat the GBA version of Final Fantasy 1, but I don't think I did the extra dungeon. I might have.
I know in 1 I did all the extra dungeons like that. Souls of Rebirth, yeah, is what the 2 extra dungeon was. That's where he plays like Minwoo and Joseph and those guys that die. It's helping Furion and the gang. But I had to see if it was in the PSP version as well. But it was a lot of fun. 2 grows me. I was playing an NES hack translation of it actually just yesterday, just because there's so many different ones now, just to see how they held up. And boy, it's a bit tough to play the Famicom one. Speaking of old Famicom, I know Dave's going pretty ham on the Fammy Corner stuff, but there's a lot of RPGs I need to get to his take on eventually. Eventually, I'm going to need to just talk to him about Beyond the Beyond, because I don't know if he owns it yet, but the price is going up. And I know Dave's the deal hunter.
Yeah, that's a game that, like, I
everybody hates, but I love Beyond the Beyond. I love that game.
I mean, it's partly your influence that, like, I kind of want to get to. I feel like I saw a copy that wasn't too expensive not that long ago.
It's running about $35 lately, I think. When I bought it when I was a kid, my dad bought our PlayStation off of a guy that worked for him, and it came with all his games. And Beyond the Beyond was one of the games. And I wasn't allowed to play it first because it was a big game, and there's something about the manual or something that my mom was like, let me read this first. And she like the next day she's like, play it, it's fine. I thought this was something different. I was like, maybe it's just like Beyond the Beyond is supposed to be like a spooky thing, but it's like my parents weren't religious, so I never really. That's the only time it was ever an issue. The fact that the blood in Zelda was green was like, oh, that's fine.
Is it as talky as
Golden Sun? No, it's talky, but to a much lesser extent.
See, I don't. The funny thing is, I don't remember Golden Sun 1 and 2 being like ultra talky, and then I got Golden Sun 3 on DS. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and
I never. It's the one I haven't beaten yet.
And people were like, yeah, the other games were that way too. And I'm like, I just don't remember them being that bad.
Oh man, yeah, shoot. I've got my copy of Golden Sun 1 secondhand has a save somewhere right before a giant cutscene in this town, and I'm like, oh, where are they? And I go into this guy's house, and it's like 10 minutes later, I'm like, I still don't know where we are in this game. All I know is I'm supposed to get something, and all that.
So in other words, Beyond the Beyond is talky, but it's as talky as Golden Sun 1 is in my memory, but isn't actually.
I would say no. I would say Golden Sun's much, or Beyond the Beyond is much less talky. It's about as talky as a Shining Force game, because this is right after Shining Force and Landstalker and those games.
They didn't do Camelot didn't do Landstalker, did they?
Yeah.
Really?
Sega Sonic Team or whatever they're. Yeah, it's all the same company. Now they're making Mario Tennis.
I mean, they made Hot Shots Golf originally. I mean, that's how Hot Shots Golf came about. But
yeah, Beyond the Beyond is.
I mean,
it's much more Dragon Questy than it is Golden Sun-y.
Well, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, why do people not really like it that much?
So I'm going to answer one question in chat first. Climax Games became Camelot, I believe. They're all the same company. They just went through different names. That got brought up in the chat just now. And it was a bit weird to see all that, especially when you look at how different a game like Landstalker is from Beyond the Beyond. Beyond the Beyond's a much darker game for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Maybe it's members left to from one company to the other, but there's pieces of the DNA of all those games hanging around.
Like, I want to say it's like 5 brothers that like are the main people at Camelot, if I remember right. They're like all related.
I did not know that there was a sequel to Landstalker on the Super Nintendo called Lady Stalker until just now.
I didn't know they were related games necessarily, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, now I'm definitely like second guessing myself totally. I think Climax worked with Camelot Software Planning on the Shining games, and then they made Landstalker, and that might be why I'm saying they're all the same. And I'm going to answer this question again. I'm 28. I'm not going to tell anybody how old Try is. You don't kiss and tell. Yeah, Dark Savior on the Saturn is apparently the spiritual successor to
that is
Landstalker.
A weird game. I actually have that.
I've very, very limited experience with the Saturn. I need to get one because I have the RGB cable for it now, and I have the action replay, so I have to.
That game came with my Saturn, and it is very strange. I haven't played a lot of it, but it's so weird that I just like I have to give it more of a try. It's
no pun intended.
It's sort of a it's got that isometric perspective, except it's polygon world. Sprite characters. But when you get into a battle, it's like a cross between like a fighting game and an RPG. And
Hmm.
it is strange.
I'll have to check that out. So Beyond the Beyond being a talkie game.
Yeah, but you said it's more Dragon Questy than
It was the first, at least in America, the first JRPG of that style, turn-based, combat kind of thing.
On PlayStation.
Yes, because I think it's like a 95, 96 game. And you're a silent protagonist who has a little dragon who follows him around, and the dragon talks basically for you. Your character says like 3 things the entire game. One of them is ... I don't count that. It shows up a few times, but all the cutscenes play out like top perspective thing. The characters shake like they do in Golden Sun, where like somebody shivers.
Oh yeah.
Right, gets smaller.
Yeah.
Beyond the Beyond does that. If somebody falls asleep, their sprite just falls over, like it just like 90-degree rotates. There's like 3 instances where they actually have a different animation or something. It's pretty pedestrian. But all the cutscenes, when they do play out, are never very long. And then as soon as it happens, you just are on to the next thing. It's a very linear game.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing lasts too long. It's about a 30-hour RPG, I would say. That's how long it took me to beat it the last time I played it.
Pretty good to me.
Yeah. Now, and it's the thing with it though, like early parts of Dragon Quest games, like early Dragon Quest 8 can be very hard if you're not at the right level. Like you get to the first couple bosses and it's like, oh no, is my Yangus going to do this? Beyond the Beyond does that, except it's in lengthy encounters and a lot of random encounters. That's the thing. There's not a lot. There's like 4 bosses in Beyond the Beyond.
Really?
Not very many. It'll be about 10 hours before you fight the first boss.
Interesting.
The first boss is like a water demon, and it's so more powerful than any of the enemies in the area. It like can totally take you by surprise. It's kind of unfair. But it's got 2 hidden party members in it and all that stuff. So it's got some bits and pieces of more modern experiences, I think. It's got a really neat way of handling
what?
Health. So there's no HP. There's vitality and life points, and they're both indicators of your health. Your VP goes down by normal damage, and then if you lose all your VP, you get groggy. And groggy means you lose a turn, and you come back from grogginess at the expense of spending life points to return your vitality points. And it's not 1-to-1. So if you have 10 VP max and 6 LP max, you might spend 2 or 3 to get 5 or 6 VP back.
See,
but
all this sounds just fine and dandy to me.
Yeah. It's the thing. It's and as far as PlayStation RPGs go, rightfully so, it is not a popular game because it doesn't the world map doesn't look that attractive. It's this weird 3D thing that has no reason to be 3D because the rest of the game is pixels. But the battles are cool because they're 2D sprites on a rotating 3D thing, like a stage.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was
kind of like Golden Sun, right?
It is very much like Golden Sun. It's also kind of like the Shining Force battles if they rotated. It's that kind of perspective. So I've always really liked that.
Making me want it. I feel like there was one at the Grid not that long ago.
Yeah. Hey. Like I said, it's running about $35 right now.
That worm left behind.
Oh, that's that sinew of its stomach. That's nasty. I bet that does damage too.
I'm going to endeavor to not find out.
Why is this game literally ripping off the Zelda 3 tower boss, just adding its blood trail? Where you have to hit the dude with the bumpers and stuff.
It's a much larger room, though.
It is, yeah. But there's the holes in the ground.
You probably can't push me down, though. It just slows you down.
Oh, well, endeavor not to find out. At least you got the dart gun now.
Yeah.
You got your Nerf equip. I do like the music in this game. It's been pretty on point this whole time. Watch that the darts only do like 1/4 of the damage your club does.
I mean, the first boss took a number of hits with my cricket bat. So who knows how many this will take.
I guess some folks in the chat have recently acquired a Sega Saturn, and that's the thing. I'm just waiting to find one at the price that I'm willing to pay for.
I mean, let's be honest, people. It's a bad time to be getting into Sega Saturn.
Is that so?
I when I got my Saturn, a friend actually gave it to me, and I just had not really paid that much attention to the system before, and I had no idea that it was like an expensive system to get games for. I had no idea.
Yeah, and somebody brought it up. That's why you pseudo Saturn it. You just hack that little action replay cart and do that. I mean, heck, that's a little inside baseball here. It's what I did with my PS1 or PS2 now with the free McBoot. I just burned PS1 game back up so I don't have to worry about scratching my Beyond the Beyond anymore.
You can do that on your PS2?
Yep. You use free McBoot. You burn them.
You could use free McBoot for PS1 games.
If you got the top load in PS2, you stick a little sticky tack.
Oh,
you jam it.
I know what you're talking about. Okay.
You put a real PS1 game in it. You start it, and then you do the setting in free McBoot that keeps the disc. It stops the disc from spinning once it's loaded or whatever. Or no, it keeps it spinning, and then you load the thing like the L floaters or whatever they are in free McBoot, and you basically swap trick it without damaging anything. It's the exact same thing, because once you close that software and go back to the browser, it says there's a PS1 game and it just boots the disc. So free McBoot on the top loading PS2, or use a Game Shark on a PS1, which I didn't have a lot of luck with because Game Sharks aren't always flashable, and that's something people don't always do a very good job telling you about. Is you have to flash the Game Sharks or the cheat device in the parallel port of the PS1s, and you have to burn a CD to do that. So you still have to swap this stuff. So I got real good at disc swapping a couple weeks ago until I actually did it so wrong after a lot of success, where I took the whole spindle, like the little pieces that keep the disc snapped into the PS1, and I ripped them out. And I had to find the little screws. I think they were damaged anyway, but I felt like an idiot, rightfully so. Yeah, but there's so many mod chips out there, and I think some folks are talking about that for the PS2 and the PS1, that it's almost ridiculous to do anything else other than that or the free McBoot. Like the Game Shark thing, I really was just more curious than anything, and it's just not even worth doing. It's kind of like, oh, that's neat. It's not like homebrew hacking a Wii where it's still like kind of cool. You know, there's nothing like that thrill, that first banner bomb homebrew hacking a Wii, I'll tell you what. Do you ever get a copy of Magician on the NES?
I did not.
I think we saw one, and I think you were entertaining the idea.
Yeah. I don't remember if you had it yet or not.
I got it last year at the Columbus, Ohio Retro Gaming Show. That's where I bought it for $30. And then I think at Too Many Games that year we saw it because it was the same dude that was at Columbus. He was in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, but it wasn't as good of a copy.
No. Mine had like somebody wrote on it on the back. I swapped the backs of it with another game that had the same back. That was it. Can't you just jump over those dirt piles?
Guess not.
So somebody, I think, maybe new to the stream missed, or well, I guess we haven't talked about it since we started, but do you plan on getting the retro tank to restore composite video compatibility to the OSSC? And you have the retro tank. Unless Sandy made off with it in protest.
It's right here. I'm kind of leaning toward, and you know, obviously I'm you know, doing all kinds of things with it. Oh, interesting. It looks like your money caps out at 200. There's a thing I can buy in the shop.
Oh, you need to get the big wallet.
It's
like you've never played a Zelda game.
But yeah, I'm leaning toward probably not using it directly with the OSSC.
Because it's a line doubler in its own right, correct?
Right. I mean, yes, I could make Composite or S-Video 5X doing it that way, but I actually kind of like...
I think there's a part in the canon of the Bible that says you shouldn't do that.
I mean, it kind of, I think, looks better just doing the 480p on its own with Composite and S-Video. Actually, I haven't tried S-Video via the OSSC with it yet, but I have tried Composite, and I thought Composite just looked better on its own, you know, to the extent that Composite looks better at being anything.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, if you have something that is only Composite only and you've got the OSSC, as somebody who has now bought an OSSC and a FrameMeister, I don't want to spend that much money on Composite. Like no matter what. I mean, like, I know there are some things like that either there are no mods for, they're not easy to do or whatever, or maybe you just don't want to do the mod. There are some folks out there who don't want to damage or cut the console like that, which is why the whole 3D print top-loading NES thing that Bob was talking about on Retro RGB was pretty cool. You just, like a puzzle, pop her in there. But like, I don't know, can you RGB mod like the Atari home computer stuff or the Commodore 64 and all that? I mean, I'm not super familiar with those things to know how they work. Or like,
I think there's an RGB mod for Commodore. I know there is for Atari, but you don't I don't, but yeah, you can get like S-Video out of Commodore.
Okay. I really want an MSX, even though the original La Mulana is there. Say what?
I'm not too knowledgeable there.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of cool homebrew stuff for it, but I know the original La Mulana is not an actual MSX game. It's a inspired by, but
that makes you
man, I still I'm like, man, did you tell me games were this cool on the MSX? La Mulana 2 has been a breath of fresh air. You want to talk about a game that does not tell you what to do? It's La Mulana and La Mulana 2.
Yeah, that was another game I thought about starting with you on the stream, but I thought,
oh man,
La Mulana 1 feels ambitious.
La Mulana 1 we could get through because I've played it enough times I could probably get you further. La Mulana 2 I haven't memorized yet. Let me put it this way. I have a notebook for La Mulana 2. Not a map. I have a notebook. I have an archaeological record. And it's like, I found this clue. I don't know. Because you can, there's tablets all over the place and they're clues to different things in the game. And they're nowhere near the thing. And they're obtuse. I mean, the game is not meant to be easy or always fun to solve a puzzle for, but there is a certain, oh goodness, thing. But I'm near the end of La Mulana 2 now after about 30 hours, I think, which is a lot for a 2D platforming Maze of Glittis game or whatever, Metroidvania as some will call it. I don't think Maze of Glittis. That's not the actual name. I can't. It's Maze of G something. But man, those guys did a Kickstarter for that game. It did not. It barely got funded. As far as I know, those guys went into debt to finish La Mulana 2. It took 3 years later than they originally thought to ship it, but it's like 9 times as big of a game than they had said it was going to be.
Yeah.
So, but I looked at the Kickstarter page the other day, and if there were stretch goals, they didn't say the price of them for console versions, and they didn't meet them. I mean, they didn't meet, I think, almost any stretch goals, because it was like $250,000 is what they asked for, and they got $270,000, I think. So, as far as Kickstarter is concerned, that's like chump change.
Yeah, like how?
I mean, I'm not really sure how much it costs to make a video game. I don't know what like Shovel Knight got off the top of my head or whatever, but like Shovel Knight is a success because it's also sold really well. I don't think everybody and their mother is out buying copies of La Mulana 2 if they're not dorks like me.
Yeah, I mean, the Shovel Knight guys have been like living off of Shovel Knight for like 4 or 5 years.
I thought they were done. I thought everything to do with Shovel Knight was released, but I guess the King Knight version is still not done yet.
It's crazy like how far they've been able to like survive just on Shovel Knight. It's
well, and to some extent it's Shovel Knight, but it's all these different characters that have their own things that play differently. I did play the Spectre of Torment one just a couple weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun. I thought I was over
Plague
it.
of Shadows. That's the only one I've done.
Okay. Yeah, the Spectre Knight one I thought was a lot of fun. It was different, and I do dig the aesthetic of it. I was thinking like, you know, it's been so long since I played the first one. I'm just gonna be like, oh, whatever. And then I played it on my Mac, and I was like, this game's awesome again. I forgot about this. So some of the folks in the chat are talking about GameCube HDMI and stuff like that. So I guess it's time to talk about my financial mistake.
Oh yeah.
Not a mistake. The receipt's still good for 27 more days. So I have the Eon GCHD doohickey, the thing that does GC video for $150 or whatever on Amazon. Because there's a whole issue of certain people not shipping things that they thought would be shipped by now. Retro Roundtable goes into a lot of details. But the FrameMeister, of course, has its finickiness with the HDMI input, but I've had luck with it. I have been able to get 240p through the Game Boy interface to work on it through my TV, but it doesn't work on my capture card. For whatever reason, it just breaks my capture card. And I'm not also convinced that it looks as good as it could. So I was like, well, what if I could find a way to transcode or shift over that HDMI signal, 240p, to component, and just use the component profiles on the FrameMeister also, because the FrameMeister also, if you have the HDMI input, you can't load a profile that was made on something else onto HDMI especially. It will just like freak it out. So I bought this thing at Micro Center that is an RCA doohickey thing that is like a little octopus thing. It's got this little component male lens on it, then a plug for an HDMI. So I plug it in. It's $50. That's keep that figure in mind. I was like, okay, give it a shot. Doesn't work. No signal. OSC doesn't see it. FrameMeister doesn't see it. My TV doesn't see it. I'm like, oh great! I'm glad I've got a 30 days to return this thing because this is awful. So there's 2 things that happened with it. I found out. It adds, or demands HDCP. So once I ran it through the splitter, it worked. So if there's no HDCP on your source, it won't work. It's not like, oh, HDCP is not doing whatever. but it
demands
it needs the handshake. Because if the other thing, I thought it was an EDID issue, but that's totally not it. So, and then I showed you the video I took of it, of after I got it to work on the Framemeisters, when I plugged in the splitter, of this Game Boy interface just scrolling down the screen while the Framemeister says, yeah, this is 480i. And there's this giant like claw tear in the corner of the video, just like somebody like ripped the thing down. It's terrifying. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'm returning this thing on Monday. This is terrible. But now that I can't remember his name, but I know Jason from Game Tech's talked about it and shown off a lot of it. The HDMI Game Boy Advance. I'm going to be in there like swimwear when that's like when that's a wider thing. I mean, I'm going to be just diving in. Because I've got a ton of Game Boy Advance games, and then for the weird stuff, I've got Woozle. That's it. Thank you, Frank. The Game Boy Advance EverDrive is pretty nice, because I'm really looking forward to converting videos into the Game Boy Advance video format. Like there's a Windows application for it, which means I got to break up my laptop. But you can convert videos into the codec and patch them into a ROM and play your own videos on the Game Boy Advance. And I'm really want to have some fun with that, but I want to be able to record it out there.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be a pretty ultimate thing from everything I know.
I'm hoping there'll be a way to have the HDMI run into it, and then like a controller maybe connected to it, because I've played a Game Gear or Nomad with the TV out like that, and let me tell you, that ain't a lot of fun.
I feel like there's gotta be like a target or something somewhere that I could shoot with my Nerf gun.
You got an X anywhere nearby?
It's way out in the ocean, but like I didn't see anything over there.
Can't go talk to your granddad and get some hinties?
I talked to him, but he basically just
said, "Oh, what are you doing in my house?
Go have you some fun.
Go play outside there, my son. Your purple hat." Can you talk to the Kiwis?
Yeah, they just say rah.
Oh, it's those little chocobos. I do want, and I know it's artisanal retro gaming, but from the Bahar Bros, a consoleized Game Gear. But I only want it for one game. And I still can't find that game out in the wild. That game is Defenders of Oasis.
Oh, is that related?
Which is another Dragon Questy. It's no relation to Beyond Oasis.
Oh, okay.
or whatever. No, it's a standalone game. Defenders of Oasis is a turn-based JRPG where you play Prince and his genie and two other dudes who actually have names.
Are you sure it's not related to Beyond Oasis? Because it sounds.
I'm sure. They're not connected at all. Defenders of Oasis is actually based on Iranian and Persian myth and legend. I'm not sure about the Genesis one, the story of Thor, or whatever the Japanese name of it is. Yeah, because like, how many other good Game Gear games are there?
I mean, it's hard to say.
I've never seen one more than $10. Sure.
I mean, I always feel like whenever I get into a system, I find so many more games than I had been aware of from just looking at on the surface. Like, I mean, I've got like a ton more PC Engine games than I ever thought I would.
Yeah, I'd still want to get a Turbs one day. But I know I would just wind up getting one of those Terra Onion things just to have fun with it. That way I don't if I did something like that, I wouldn't have to ask Coury to capture my Beyond Shadowgate footage. That was so funny. When Coury knew I was doing the 8-bit anthology video, and I just messaged you guys, I was like, hey, you guys have got like a Turbo Everdrive or something, right? Or some way to play any game you want. And they're like, do you need me to record Beyond Shadowgate footage for you? I was like, yeah, just the first 10 minutes, please. Isn't this the point in Zelda where an owl comes down and he's like, Marc, I think you're lost?
You'd think so.
The guy I always tried to skip as a kid because I was like, I don't know who the hell you are, but get away. What? So for the new people of the chat who haven't seen the title card, what is the name of this game again?
Reverie.
Reverie. Not Reverend, not Revelation, Reverie.
As in Dragon Quest VI. What did they end up? I read they changed the American name from.
I was gonna say you threw me off there for a second. I'm like, what?
What did they call the full title for the American subtitle?
Gosh, 6 is the one I know the least about.
Was it Realm? Is it not Realms of Reverie? They changed the name slightly, like they initially announced it, and then
Realms
it was
of Revelation.
They originally announced it as Realms of Reverie, if I remember correctly.
Maybe. Do you guys plan on using the USB video streaming plugin for the Vita? This has a special interest to me because I like the Vita. I need to buy a new charging cable for it because my cat ate it.
USB video streaming plugin for Vita. Is that like a
does it have a project? Does it have a real name?
Is that a homebrew custom firmware?
Aren't they all homebrew though?
Yeah, but I mean, is it like a? Is that? Are you talking?
Do you need a software hack the Vita to use it?
I mean, there's like the Katsukitty USB mod. Katsukitty.
H Encore. Yeah, Vita TV is nice and all, but like not every game works for it. It's custom
firmware. I think you can get every game to work.
You were just like, could you use that with you got to firmware hack it? I know you firmware hack the Vita TV though.
Well, I still haven't done it, but I bought a second PS TV just to do that because
I was literally looking for one the other day, because I have all the Final Fantasy games on the Vita and PSP on my Vita, and it's like, man, I would really like to have that in there. Be able to play them on the television.
Oh, I just randomly talked to this kid, and she said something different that sounds like maybe what.
You have to talk to NPCs 6 or 7 times, man.
Well, she probably says something new after that dungeon.
Jimmy Hop is in the chat. Try, you know, I not being fooled that I'm not Coury in a wig. As so many people have been like, Coury's got a toupee on. Like, Coury doesn't need a toupee. He looks better bald than I look with hair. So. There's apparently a lot more Vita homebrew thing that I was aware of, but just shows how. I should say my cat ate my charging cable like a year ago, so I haven't touched it since. It's let's see.
I need to get a new USB cable because I've got electrical tape on my.
I thought it was sitting on top of my NES, but it's not there anymore. Unless it's what I knocked over, which I thought was a controller.
I definitely need to get a new charging cable before they become rare for the Model 1s that don't use standard USB.
That's what I have. Yeah, and I haven't been able to find one locally yet. I'm like, I don't want to online. I hate ordering online. Yeah, the other thing I got, which I don't know why. I think I was just curious. I've shown you this, the Retrode Power Stick.
Oh.
with that micro switch.
It's got some
Because
clicking.
yeah, the NES really needed micro switches. No turbo thing. The thing is, this thing is about as you ever blown on a daffodil? That's about how much this weighs. This thing is light, and compared to the you ever lose your NES Advantage
Can't
try?
make Sandy
You just
without.
don't know where you put it.
Sandy will be our sandcastle. She's naming.
Are you building a sandcastle out of your dog?
She is naming her sandcastle after my dog.
Now that's when the game knows you. Oh, so you had to get a shovel.
Yeah.
Why does it make so much? This is Zelda. But yeah, I've been toying around with this power stick thing, and there's things I like about it, things I don't. I want to take it apart and add weight to it, for one, because like I said, it's light as a feather. But it also just has the lamest branding ever, where you're just like, power stick. Just
yeah.
like, just what is that? That's
what it is.
It's like poor man's Helvetica as a font. Oh, it's wonderful. Print it. Retro bit, we have an eye for quality. It's funny. So every now and then, after you let me onto one of these things, I'll get a message. Somebody's like, "I watched some of your videos." And like, "Wow, you're a totally different person in the video." Because I don't make jokes in my videos, or I don't, do funny. If I do a joke, it's always like, I said daffodil, dandelion is what I meant. I don't do jokes in the videos on those, like they're real subtly thrown in to just like a snark comment or something like that, or reference something else. Like when I put green dog in the footage of the Joy's controller review, it's like, that's for you, Joe. That's all out there. But that's also one of the reasons why I want to redo my Legend of the Ghost Lion video, because I tried to be funny in that video and I failed miserably. It is not a funny video in the least. And I actually own the game like complete now, so I can show off the manual and the Famicom version and stuff like that.
Which
so it'd be
game
a much
was
more
that again?
entertaining thing. Legend of the Ghost Lion. It's
Oh,
one on
yeah.
the RPG on the NES with the lady who looks like she's doing aerobics.
Yeah, I thought it looked kind of good.
I mean, it is good.
I liked your video on it.
I'm a mutant bitter. I'll wheel myself around here. It's yeah, she's got an aerobics outfit and a big old lion. And I've got the Famicom one. There we go.
So we like just built the next dungeon out of sand.
So your dog is the second dungeon or the third dungeon?
Yeah, basically.
So which of these do you think would be the more fun game? The one with the aerobics lady, or the one with the sick ass like anime opening scene here? I'm gonna go with the Famicom one on this one.
I mean
it's even got like a whole little like comic on the back. Like in the game, the girl is like 9, like your main character, but on the cover of this, she can vote. I mean, she's an adult. This game cost me $100 in the box. And
really?
I'm still, like a year, like it's been a year since I bought it, give or take, and I'm still like, dude, you got student loans to pay for. And the box has is like part of the box is like ripped up too, but the manual is in great shape. But the game's like $60 loose, I think. But the Famicom one, I have 2 of these. They're so cheap.
And who made it?
Kemco. At least they published it. I don't know if they actually developed it or not, but Kemco published the MacVenture games on the NES too.
Oh yeah.
I do not buy games on the Yahoo Japan auctions. I unfortunately don't have enough experience with actually making good financial decisions to do that. So I'm more of an eBay or friends who have some stuff already in the States. There's a couple stores near me in Columbus that every time they go to Japan, they buy a truckload of stuff and they sell at the store, and they usually have pretty comparable prices. At least they make me think that it's a price I would pay. There's other guys that put the translated ROM of Monster World 4, the one with the girl, on the Mega Drive, in the Japanese case, in the Japanese cart. So it was a real cart, but it was a fake. It was a flash board.
I just want to know what they did with the original board.
Coury was. That's what Coury said, because he looked at it. He's sitting there and he's just like, I should buy that. You know, like what he does to us. And until he found out that it was the English version on the Japanese cartridge, and he's like, I'm not paying $100 for that, or $120 for that. Get out, you know. He was so mad. We went to lunch. We're sitting there at the old Bag of Nails eating lunch with all our friends and stuff while up there, and he's looking at Monster World 4 on his phone, like the prices of the Japanese one and stuff. He's like, I can't believe them. It was the funniest thing I had ever seen.
Well, I mean, it's, you know, and in the end, he ended up buying it in Japan for, what was it, Jimmy? $88, I think.
But he got the real deal then. That's the thing. Like, the fact that we had no idea where this board actually was was pretty fun. So he probably shared that story with you guys on the trip. But oh my gosh, it was good to witness. Witness the frustration as he like walks around the room a couple more times, like thinking about like, do I want to buy it? And then he'd come up and be like, oh yeah, Lunar's strategy guide, you should buy that.
Yeah, but that was I mean, but that's a good example of, like, you know, that game has been, you know, if either people are selling on eBay, you know, with the expectation of selling overseas, you know, they've been charging over $100 for that game for years. Like, you know, 120 is about right, actually.
Yeah.
And
these guys do the same thing with the Dragon Quest Super Nintendo games. They flash either a ROM or put a repro cartridge or something, and then put it in the actual Japanese box. But I don't like that. It feels weird.
Yeah, but I mean, but like Coury said, you know, about, you know, our buying experiences in Japan, it's, you know, it's on average, like, you know, even Akihabara, which people say is more expensive than it should be these days, like, we were able to get games for, you know, around 30% less than we could have. Buying them on eBay, buying them at conventions. So, I mean, it was...
Oh my God. I mean, I know you were off gallivanting in the land of the rising sun while we were at Too Many Games, but I mean, it's not like you missed out on a deal or anything. That place was pricey this year.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
When Game Dave doesn't get to make a lot of bundaroos, you know there's something wrong.
There is. Did he try to make any bundaroos, or did he not really try?
He didn't really have a lot of time, I don't think, to get to peruse the Dirt Bazaar as he would have liked, maybe. But even just looking around, it's just like what I would want to pay for some stuff is not the price that they have. And what David suggested, and I totally agree now that I'm thinking about it, is that these guys knew that people would haggle some deals down. Everybody likes to haggle, so you raise the price on the sticker a little bit above what you want. They haggle you down. They feel like they won, and you made the same amount of money you were going to make in the first place. That's kind of what it seemed to be. I mean, I'm the ignorant guy. I had played the ROM of Aerobiz Supersonic when I was working on my Joy's wireless Genesis controller video, and I really like business simulation games, especially the Koei ones. So I was like, I'm going to see if I can buy Aerobiz Supersonic on the Genesis. It was a $150 game. I didn't know that.
Wow.
So I couldn't find it. Couldn't find it. This one guy had it in the glass case, you know, ironically enough, next to like a box Super Mario 3, which is like, okay, show me the good stuff. So I'm like, yeah, how much you guys looking at for that? And and they don't know. No price on it, no sticker. He's got to go find the owner. And I'm like, oh great, I just inconvenienced this guy. 5 minutes later, like he's helping some other customer, so it's like you can't just stop and look something up when you're trying to deal with somebody else. I totally get that. He's like, it's 175, but I'll do 150. I'm like, that's I didn't know that. I'm not gonna waste your time being like, I'll think about it and I'll be back. That's, I don't like doing that where it's you tell the guy something like, yeah, I'll think about it. I'll give you time to sell it. Unless I'm trying to actually pull a thing where it's like I'm trying to make sure that he knows I'm going to be back, and it's usually a bit more of a longer conversation. But that's, last year, we all, when we were buying games and stuff, we had to tag team it,
Yeah. Make
Dave
your
would
picks
go,
and then
Dave would go.
Make your picks, and then Dave is the one who's trying to buy them all.
Right. Well, and I think the one case where it was something Dave wanted, I went with him, and we basically had like a little routine where it's like, let's try to figure out how much this is, and then you got to wingman it a little bit. Like I bought a couple things off of the dude, which were at the price I wanted anyway, and I'm sitting there talking to Dave about them. And all of a sudden, this guy is agreeing to a price on a game that like didn't have one. And Dave's like, "Would you do 20 on it?" Game was worth like 60. So part of it is you got to talk to the guys selling these games as if they're actual human beings, because they are, and not just like, I hate when people go up to these booths and stuff and they got their head down and they're just looking at a thing and then they put it down. And the only time they want to talk to the guy behind the counter or the table or whatever is they're like, hey, would you do 20 on this 22? Well, yeah, because you're going to leave if I do that. Of course I'm going to make that deal. It's I love it. Dave's got it down to a science, but that's that's how I got a complete boxed Final Fantasy 1 and 2 Dawn of Souls for free. Because last year's Too Many Games, I bought like $100 worth of other stuff, and they had like this thing marked for 30 or 40 in there. I picked it up and put it back down. They're like, you can just take that if you want.
I think I have the box for that, but I don't have the game anymore. I'm pretty sure I've got the box for it.
I need to find out what happened to my actual Bravely Default cartridge. I think maybe I let somebody borrow it, which never goes well for me. I told you what happened to my Mega Man Legends 2, right?
I think so.
I let somebody borrow my Mega Man Legends 2 in high school, and they sat on it and broke it.
Oh.
And that game was always expensive, but now it's like, I don't want to replace it.
It's such a good game. The only thing, though, is that the American box art is trash.
I mean, yeah. Not going to disagree there.
But, yeah.
It's... and thankfully now it's on PSN and on the PS3, so you can at least play it now without going too nefarious. But Tron Bond, as Show just mentioned in the chat, that's a take out a mortgage game.
Yeah.
I
have the I have the PSN version of that, and
right, so do I.
I borrowed a copy from a friend several years ago, and
you didn't sit on it, did you?
I did not sit on it. Do I have to actually equip the snorkel to? That's kind of lame.
What is this? What is this? The Iron Boots, Skyward Sword, or Twilight Princess? Whichever one you had to actually do that. Which is all the remakes of Zelda, I think, actually now. They have to do it as a C button item,
but yeah, what were we talking about?
Tron Bond.
Tron Bond, yeah. So I got like sometime in the past year, I got the Japanese version of Tron Bonne just to satisfy my desire to have a physical copy of it, even though like I can't really play that version. But I mean, I've beaten it before, so you know.
Yeah, and it unfortunately does need a little bit legibility.
Yeah.
But
I mean, but you know, it's always something good for just I can pop it into my Japanese PS1 and you know
G-roll.
I can always give me some G-roll of that.
Gotta get that G-roll.
In fact, I think I probably already have used it in that capacity. I can't quite remember, but I'm sure I have.
It's a game. It's not nearly as fun as the Legends games, but it's actually
fun.
I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
I like it. I think
I've always liked Teasel and Tron, the character.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
like the Tron family.
I mean, I think it's
Bond family.
Ultimately pretty skippable, but
yeah, you're not. I mean, it's a prequel to Legends 1. You're just gonna learn about the serve bots.
Was it prequel? I couldn't even remember like where
it takes place
stood.
just before Legends 1 because the Gesellschaft is the airship in Legends 1 that you blow up, and they just build it in Tron. Like the whole plot of the game is Teaselbahn gets freaking kidnapped because he defaults on a loan to build the Gesellschaft. so
Yeah,
you have to make the money,
remember.
and then you got to pay the interest and all that crap. And then in Legends 2, it's Tron and Roll fighting over a rocket. Now Mega Man's suffocated from lack of air on the surface of the moon now.
Because they'll never make another.
No. That demo ever come out in America to play it on 3DS? Was that ever an American thing?
I think it did.
I totally had missed it. I never played it. Oh well. At least they did another Kickstarter for a Mega Man Legends style game with a guy that looks like literally a ripoff of Teaselbahn in it. That'll probably not.
Yeah, it's like
probably mighty number its way to not being good.
I don't think it was funded though.
I
assume
well, I
it's
don't
not
think.
happening.
I hope it wasn't. I mean, that's a terrible thing to say, dude.
But still, like it was a pretty obnoxious thing. Just like I am not on the Inafune hate train like a lot of people are, but
no, yeah, but
it was like that was obnoxious though, because it's like, dude, you don't even understand why people want another Mega Man Legends 2. They don't want another Mega Man Legends 2 because they want to play another Mega Man Legends like game. They want another Mega Man Legends because Mega Man is trapped on the freaking moon.
I want a conclusion to this story.
Yeah, which
I want.
Like I haven't played the Shenmue games yet, but like what wasn't there like some comment of like, oh, there could be room for Shenmue 4 and 5? It's like no, this is your opportunity to finish this thing. Like people want you to finish it. People don't want Shenmue 4 and 5. People want Shenmue finished. Don't leave an opening that you might not finish again.
Look at Snatcher. Snatcher ends on a cliffhanger. Gillian Steve's like, I'm gonna go take care of stuff. Bye, ladies. And then he's gone. And it's like, I gotta go find the actual Snatcher threat, the actual thing that's gonna ruin the world. Neo Kobe's fine. And it's like, done. Whatever. But the original version, like the PC-88 version, ends before that. The Sega CD version is the only reason they added the actual ending that we know about in America. It's like, Kojima, man, I know it's your second game, but come on, put the pen down when you're done writing, not beforehand to go get lunch and then you start working on Death Stranding. Whatever that game, I thought it was Death Standing. I don't think that's right. I think it's Death Stranding.
It's Stranding, yeah.
Is that a word? Wow, that's the same guy that had Metal Gear Solid relevance.
I mean, it's Kojima. Kojima doesn't need reasons.
Apparently not. The game looks game. I'm using the term loosely. Looks interesting, but. I like movies.
I'm keeping an open mind about it.
Yeah. I mean, every time I hear somebody tweet Norman Reedus and the Funky Fetus, I just lose it. I just think that's the funniest thing in the world.
I've never heard that.
Oh well, I'm glad I could enlighten you. such a marketing buzzword there, but I mean, I need a Saturn as well now because I have Police Knots on the Saturn. I played the PS1 English hack, but I really want to play the Saturn's version because the Saturn's like the more complete version or the better version to play of Police Knots. But Police Knots is like 80% great, and then it's like 10% what, and then 10% no. But doesn't stop me from buying it all the time. I did think Coury got that when we were in the Columbus, Ohio Retro Gaming show. Oh, that reminds me. The Ohio Retro Gaming Summit is coming up in a couple days. I'll have to go to that in Columbus. So if you're in the Central Ohio area at Airport Road in a couple days, Torgs is going on, and there's always a deal to be made there. There's a lot of local folks and a couple guys from New York and some other places that are friends of some other vendors. They come and stay, and that's actually where I got Police Nuts on the Saturn last year for like $40, perfectly clean. It's a great copy. It's also where I got Lunar on the Sega CD, which I did not have before. So for like $60. They got the foil copy too. The case is broken, but I'm getting one of those limited run replacement cases soon. So, or whenever they finish them, I think I'm going to get to review that. So, can you not go in the water here because there's the blocks?
No, I can go in the water. I assume I can't push the block in the water.
I just don't know what the point of the bear. Oh, because you got to push it on the ledge things. Well,
it does. It
heavy rocks.
There.
Heavy rocks float, apparently.
Although I'm still not sure how that helps me. Have I fully investigated this room? I mean, basically, I gotta get a...
You gotta weigh that thing down and get that little slide down.
But, so I gotta get one of the other blocks over there. I'm trying to figure out how. If I push this over here.
Can you use the pots?
No, I don't think you can pick any of the stuff up like that.
Can you? Oh, take that.
Because the switches make the pegs go down.
I think the issue with the target, it's moving, but it's got a barrier in front of it. You have to get it to the place where there's no barrier.
Right.
Yeah, you can't shoot
there's only 2 blocks, so I gotta get one of the blocks over yonder.
Do you need to push the block in the middle island to the one on the right? Hold that button down, push its block to the middle, and then reset it by going to the left. Not a super intuitive thing, but that's all you're doing is just exchanging it.
Tricky.
Tricky.
That's kind of thinking in wonky game mechanics where the same block can only be spawned once, but
right.
So it is.
There you go. I knew you had me on for a reason. I guess everybody's talking about Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. I liked the Twin Snakes, and apparently not very many other people do.
I liked it when it first came out. And, like, more recently when I've popped it in, it's like, oh, I can really tell just how not Kojima this is.
Really? See,
Yeah,
that's the thing. I've not played the original Metal Gear Solid in 15, 20 years.
You know, it at the time, like, it was not that apparent to me. But, like, it nowadays, I can, like, really see.
Try.
What?
Oh, okay, you're fine. I thought you were taken away back to, I've seen the bottom of that ramp before.
But, yeah, I was like, oh, this is, and the other weird thing is, like, at the time, I felt like it had equivalent to Metal Gear Solid 2 graphics and quality of cutscenes and stuff.
No, they're a little different.
It's off. It is off.
It's not. I don't think it's bad though.
No, it's not bad, but it's off. It's definitely a bit off.
Yeah, I need to play the original Metal Gear Solid. I haven't in so long, and I don't own it. But it's been interesting to hear, like, the difference. Like, everything was re-recorded, and I guess this time, sure, they had a soundproof studio to do it in, but
I don't remember the sound quality being particularly poor.
Yeah, I thought that too, because I've seen YouTube stuff, you know, and I was like, hey, it seems fine to me. But I didn't realize, like, that they had changed so much of the dialogue, the content, the bosses, the actual references to things. But I'll have to actually do a side by side. I did forget how short Metal Gear Solid 2 is until I played it again recently.
Yeah, not terribly long.
Yeah, I beat it in 2 days. I mean, of just casually playing through it. When it took me like 4 months to beat as a kid. And that's the actual PS2 version, because that was the first game I played when I got my new PS2 for the Framemeister, because my old PS2 was broken. So it's about a year ago now, I guess, when I played that. I still don't get it. I don't know it. Like, now that I've played all the Metal Gear Solids, I'm still just like, I'm not really sure what happened in this game.
It's an interesting game.
3 is still my favorite.
Oh yeah, 3 will always be my favorite.
I need to play it. I haven't yet. I own it now though. I got the Metal Gear Solid HD collection. That's 2, 3, and Portable and Peace Walker, not Portable Ops. Peace Walker. Not the one with all of those games, but just those 3. And it has the substance versions of the other ones on there. So I need to play that. I played Metal Gear Solid 3 on the 3DS, and I thought it was fine.
I was like, man, I've not played that version.
I actually was pretty. Now, granted, it's been about 5 years, and I've got, my memory issues. I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're gonna do this puzzle without a bomb. Oh, never mind. You do it with the freaking yo-yo.
Then I have to equip my snorkel again.
Don't you hate it when you go to swim and if you don't have the snorkel, you don't know how to swim, even though you keep your head above water? That's why flippers make more sense to me.
Well, I went in there just to go in there. There's still a locked door, but I was in that room that was I mean, that the locked door was in the lower left.
Hmm.
And I I was there, like I saw both sides of the locked door. I just didn't have a key to open it. So it's fine, I guess.
Yeah, just kill the boss, get the Triforce, and get out of here.
Inky.
Blinky.
Mega fugitive.
Inky and Clyde. You got to get the power pellet, dude. I have been toying with because it's my brother's Xbox One, so I don't get to play it a whole lot. But I've been enjoying Lost Odyssey every little now and then. Again, a game that I have not played since I graduated high school and bought an Xbox 360. But
yeah,
I forgot how great that game looked.
It's a really good game. I was near the beginning of disc 2, I think. Like, this was just a couple years ago, and just because of busyness reasons, it fell on the back burner. But I was really liking it. Like, you know what's interesting is that I kind of have gotten like a whole lot more. You can hit the snorkel item button to dive underwater.
Now it makes sense that it's
now it makes sense it's an item.
My goodness.
Because I'm like, okay, there has to be a way to dodge this.
Yeah.
But anyway, like playing the last story and a good chunk of Lost Odyssey, which I'll need to restart because I do not like picking up RPGs after playing them down.
And it does not do a very good job of telling you what to do if you pick it up. Like that happened to me.
Yeah.
Last time I played it, I had to like ask. I was like, "Do you know what I'm supposed to do in this town?" They're like, "Did you meet with the dude?" Like, "Oh no, that's it." I keep going out to the world map and getting killed. So.
But yeah, like I feel like it's really increased my appreciation of Sakaguchi, because like Final Fantasy stuff was great, but I never really knew like was Final Fantasy great because of Sakaguchi, or was it just a lot of other circumstances. And then seeing the games that Sakaguchi has sort of spearheaded in his time after Square, like I'm like, okay, like the dude is like actually a pretty legitimately good storyteller.
Right. Yeah, I've dug. I never beat Lost Odyssey when I had it back a long time ago. I probably got about, I think I got to the last disc before like college had me sell a lot of video games to pay for student stuff, which is a tragedy. I don't recommend it. But now that I'm playing through it again, and I'm not sure if it's one of the games that gets the Xbox One treatment. Like, it looks amazing on the Xbox One.
I understand that it
got a higher rendering resolution or not.
It doesn't get a higher render resolution, but I don't recall from John was telling me that apparently it goes a very long way to fixing frame rate issues.
I did notice that. Now I'm wondering, and I don't know if you mentioned this in like your 4K video or anything, but I think you showed footage of it, of if Blue Dragon gets any benefit from that, because Blue Dragon I returned because I felt like something was wrong with my console. I'm serious.
I have not tried Blue Dragon on the 360, but I was amused. I was amused when I was trying Blue Dragon on the Xbox One. Like, the shadow draw distance is like 2 yards in front of your character. It's bad.
It's yeah. And now I don't know, like I said, I don't know what it is on the, but like picture that game like chugging. Like everything takes minutes to do and nothing looks smooth. Like I was like, I like. Is the Red Ring a slowdown now too, or what?
Yeah, but it's definitely for Lost Odyssey. Like I said, when I was playing it originally, I don't specifically remember frame rate issues. That's like not something I was really looking for in a turn-based RPG, I guess. But John was telling me like it completely fixes the frame rate issues. At least the X does.
And my thing is about, I don't care, like, oh, 60 frames per second, 30, whatever. As long as it's like smooth, like, does it feel like I'm missing something of this? Like, is it so jarring that it's crazy? And Blue Dragon was that for me, that it was just like, oh, this is just it's not fun to look at. That's how but I don't remember Lost Odyssey 360 being like that. Because the other game I played through recently was Star Ocean: The Last Hope. It's remake or port or whatever on the PS4, the standard PS4 view. So I never saw it in 4K, but it was good.
Oh yeah, isn't like the full official title of that like full HD and 4K remake or something like that?
Something like that. It's got the resolution in the title. That's the separate game facts entry right there, ladies. That was a game I never got out of the first dungeon of that when I played it on the 360 because I just wasn't having fun. Also because I didn't know where the buttons were in the first dungeon and I felt like an idiot. But 2010 for me was a weird time, I suppose, or whenever that game came out. Because I was in college and I had like no time. I'm like, I just want to get out of this freaking planet.
I never played any Star Ocean games, although
I have a soft spot for them. They're dumb and weird, but I like them.
Yeah, I think is it the PS2 one that's like really controversial because people don't like the twist at the end or something?
I mean, I don't. I think the twist ending is stupid. But yeah,
but is it the PS2 one?
Yeah, that's until the end of time. The third game.
Like I'm definitely kind of I've ever since working on the PS2 episode, like I've really gotten kind of a fascination with Tri-Ace's PS2 games.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of makes me want to get it because like they, you know, at the time, most people probably just thought of them as like a, you know, B-tier developer. But like
wannabe Square Enix.
You look back at what they pulled off on the PS2 and like some of the tech they were pushing like for Radiata Stories, Valkyrie Profile 2, like those games push the PS2 like you know they like consistently do like I don't think Valkyrie Pro, I don't know about Valkyrie Pro because I don't have it. In fact, I've only got Radiata Stories, but I'm like really curious about the others because like I think Radiata is 60 frames and like, you know, supports 480p widescreen and just like the style of Radiata holds up in a way that like I think no other PS2 game does. Like
it's interesting because Star Ocean 3 also has 480p, you know, widescreen and all that stuff, but I don't like the widescreen on it. But Radiata Stories I do. And it's weird. Like I also don't like widescreen in Dragon Quest VIII because it does expand the view. There is more stuff, but the text box gets so much bigger.
The 2D elements aren't compensated. Whereas Radiata does it right. Yeah, widescreen modes were very hit and miss in that generation.
By the nature of SD anamorphic video. I mean, unfortunately.
Right. I mean, a lot of people don't like widescreen for analog stuff because the pixels are stretched and in a sense you're uncompacting the detail. That doesn't bother me. If the field of view is truly increased and the 2D elements are not stretched, I do prefer to use widescreen modes in those games.
Yeah, basically you have to load other elements that are anamorphic or not, the way I would understand it.
I would assume.
Stretch version and a non-stretch.
Right. Either that or it stretches them on the fly, I guess, maybe.
Right.
I don't know, but like I don't
it.
use it in Dragon Quest 8 either because they don't do it right. But Radiata, they do it right. Thinking of the GameCube, there's Star Fox Adventures, F-Zero GX. Those games definitely did widescreen correctly. I know there's more I'm struggling to think about. I think Super Monkey Ball 2. You were on stream for Super Monkey Ball 2. I can't remember if I was playing it in widescreen or not.
No, I think you were playing it in 4x3.
I might have been, just out of convenience, probably.
You blew through that game. I was like, can you play the ramp game? That's the only one I know.
I mean, didn't I only get to like World 3 or 4 or something?
I can't remember.
I think
it's been so long.
I think I got to a tough spot. Was that the last time you were on our stream?
Coury wasn't available, so I put the wig on. And
every time I ask you to be on the stream, like I suddenly have this flash of memory that's like, you know what I never think to look for when I'm in game stores? Dragon Quest swords. Because you were on with Coury when he streamed that. And I think I remember listening to that stream because I think I was like really busy with something, or I like got home late or something. I just didn't feel like being on the stream. And I remember listening.
You were sick or something, I thought. Yeah, you were.
Maybe I was sick. That was probably. I think you're right.
You were winded.
I think I was sick.
You had a lot of college things.
But yeah, I like every time Duke is on stream, like I get that flashback. Like, why do I never remember to look for Dragon Quest swords? It's like a $10 game.
I've probably got 2 copies of it somewhere.
Do you really?
I think so. I think one's loose, one's in the box.
Oh,
it's only like a $10 game.
Yeah, I can't have loose. Cheap. Yeah, I forget to look for it. Like,
it's harder to find, but it's not expensive.
Yeah,
you go to GameStop, all you're gonna find a Wii. You'll find Fortune Street, thankfully.
So that's pretty common.
Yeah.
But
Dragon Quest swords.
No. And the problem with looking at Wii games is like every time I see the Wii section at a store, I'm like, okay, I know there's
a bunch of cooking mamas.
I know there's Wii games I want, but I can never remember what they are, and I'm too lazy to make lists. And it's like, there's so many Wii games. I just don't know if I can look through it right now.
Yeah.
And
it's so hard to tell just on the back of a box of a Wii game if it's like kind of good or not.
Yeah, and thus I never get Dragon Quest swords.
And it's I mean, I like it. I mean, I played through it again a couple of months ago. I remember
when it came out, it didn't necessarily get the best reviews. I'm going.
Well, it's a waggle game. It's a waggy.
Yeah, but it's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
It's got a lot of.
Look it up on. You never know what kind of game you might be able to buy new on Amazon for dirt cheap, and you just assume you can.
Oh yeah, get it sealed.
I'm going to look up Dragon Quest swords. See what we got here. Oh no,
$50.
No, $50. Yeah, we ain't.
Only one left in stock though. Buy now.
We ain't doing that.
I really want to get the Dragon Quest collection. Roof from Clan of the Grey Wolf did a video on that. I really want it, but I don't want to spend $130 on it.
Well, I know, but it's surprisingly expensive. And like a used copy in Japan, like I forgot it existed, and I saw it at a store in Akihabara, and I was like, oh yeah, look at it, I'm like, oh no. No, I mean, it's not like I could like really play it. It'd really be just having it to have, but
right.
I was kind of tempted to get, even though I don't have a Japanese 3DS. I was tempted to get a used copy of 3DS 11 just on the novelty of it's not coming out here. And
Right.
it's, I don't know, like $30.
I mean, you know what happened when I bought the Japanese copy of 11? There was at some point in transit, the package was damaged and the game disc was damaged, so it wouldn't install. And the guy sent me a replacement, and he told me I could keep the other one. So I have 2 copies of PS4 Dragon Quest 11. One of them doesn't work, but I am so looking forward to that game. But I'm not brokenhearted that it's not coming out on 3DS here.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then again, I am, because I know it's a different game.
How different is it?
Well, it's 3D or 2D, as far as I understand.
I forgot about the 2D aspect.
I mean, that's just old school Dragon Quest on the go like that. I think would be great, because the only old school Dragon Quest you can go right now is the mobile versions, and the mobile scripts of 1 and 2 and 3 are excellent. The graphics of 1 and 2 suck, and if you have a Japanese PSN account, you can get those. You can get the widescreen versions of 1 and 2's mobile versions, and they didn't fix the pixel scaling. It still looks awful. I'll record a video and send it to you, because you could get them with Dragon Quest 11 for cheap, but they were still available to purchase separately, and I got them like that. And Dragon Quest 1 never looked uglier. Well, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a shame, is what it is, because they fixed a lot of sprites in Dragon Quest 3 from the Super Famicom version. You actually see the detail in the characters' faces a lot more and stuff. 4 on mobile has the party chat that's missing in the DS version. 5 and 6 are identical to the DS version, as far as I know. But 3DS having an actual Dragon Quest RPG game does seem appealing 4 years ago. Before I beat 7 and 8 on the, which I've done twice now.
I don't like dragging out my 3DS when I don't have to nowadays.
I was telling somebody the other day, they're like, I love 2DS, and I love my new 2DS XL too. I just couldn't remember where it was, and I have it wrapped around its charger now, so I don't lose the charger. But, I've mostly used this to rip my cartridges using Homebrew so I can play them in Citra on my computer, because I've been testing that water. Because Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time on Citra run amazingly.
Is that the 3DS emulator?
Yep.
I heard 3DS emulation was not in a good spot.
It's actually come quite a good ways. Dragon Quest 7 works okay on it. The text doesn't render perfectly, but the models do. And it runs at great frame rate. 8 a little less so, but still pretty good. It's you need a good computer for it, of course. I mean, my Windows 95 machine to play NES games on back in the day wouldn't handle it, but my 5K iMac from 2015 does. And that's the other thing too. It's a cross-system compatible emulator. It's hard to find of quality, I think. When I was doing my Joy's video and I had to get the Pac-Man sounds from Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures, Pac-Man's voice samples they come from a certain chip of the game that is not like part of the sound test or anything like that. So I had to find a way to emulate it and mute sound channels so I could get recordings of the sounds. And I had to find the Mac version of ZSNES, because I knew ZSNES could do it. Let me tell you, the Mac version of ZSNES is exactly the same as the Windows version. It still sucks. but it on a 5K iMac, a computer program that's not meant to be maximized, and it's like fun times. My OBS
Dragon Quest 11, man. I would love nothing more than to just be able to come back from Retro World and just be able to just bask in that game. Do you know how long it is?
No, I have no. I know the basic plot of it, and that's all I've looked up. I haven't watched any of the Japanese videos to it.
I don't know if I want to know how long it is, because 7 and 8, pretty long games. 7, in my opinion, didn't deserve to be as long as it was, and 8 did. 4, or not 4, I don't know why I said 4. 9, on the other hand, was 40 hours just to beat it. So it was comparatively short. It was more like SNES era length.
I think I've got 80 hours in the 3DS version of Dragon Quest VII when I beat it. But that's a long game. I got 100 some hours in the PS1
Yeah,
version
same here.
before I
It was like
lost that memory
115,
card.
120 hours for
Yeah, and I don't
7
have
for
that
me.
memory card from my youth. But Dragon Warrior 7 was a game that I rented a lot to play it because it was expensive, but it was $5 to rent it for a weekend. And hey, I've got a memory card. It's like I own it.
Yeah.
I got it in layaway.
I want to say that I beat 8 in maybe 90 some hours, but my file is
last time I beat 8, I beat in 45, I think.
Really? Wow.
That is,
I mean,
because
I explored
I knew what to do.
That game, though. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't go metal slime hunting all day.
But man, 8 so good. Like, and what's so exciting about 11? Like, I see 11 as like the follow up to 8.
Well, now there's a Dragon Quest 8 costume that you get when you start the game for 11. You will start the game with the Trodane outfit that the main character in 8 wears. He looks, it's the outfit. I don't see Munchie in the pocket, but I'll take it.
But yeah, gosh.
I mean, there's a lot of costumes in 11 that I understand.
I hope I can play it right away. Like, I'll do everything I can to be able to do that, because that would.
I'll try not to send you guys in our chat like a bunch of screenshots or something while you're on a plane or something to New York.
Please do not.
Hey, look what I'm doing.
Oh man.
My goal is hopefully to similar like I did with Octopath Traveler, to try to do like an unboxing thing with it, because I pre-ordered the big boy edition. With that now every pre-order comes with a free lanyard, so video just got 5 seconds longer. But Octopath, I'm still working my way to the final part of that, the last big thing. Because I've beaten it, I just got to do this last thing, and I tried to do it today. And I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but it is tough, and you need to make sure you use every person in that game, or you can't do it. It is hard, and there's a reason that only having one class per every 8 people instead of 2 classes, or like doubling up, is actually difficult, because you get some good classes and then you can't use them on more than one person. Kind of sucks. That's the only point in the game I say that, because I actually think it's smart, because the worst part of Bravely Default is just have a bunch of cat dancers running, spamming out all the good abilities. Makes it too easy.
Yeah.
So what do you think of Reverie, Try?
I mean,
it's a good game.
It's pretty good. I'd say about what I expected. I've got a soft spot for. I mean, I think I've expressed this before. Like Zelda-like games that are like so obviously and blatantly ripping off Zelda, and they just like
Crusaders of Century, for example.
They don't even try to hide it. Don't even try to hide it. Like, I've got a soft spot for just how, like, boldly they don't care and they just make it anyway. Like, so I feel like that, like, elevates those kinds of games in my head a little bit. It's a fine game. It's nothing amazing, but it's like
a $13 game on PSN to download, or like you have the Play Asia. Like that seems about right. Yeah, you got new games like Dead Cells that are like $25, but there are certain, magnitude difference in probably the kind of amount of time you'd probably play with them. That Reverie kind of looked like just like a nice, fun.
Yeah, I mean it's
classic Super Nintendo experience.
Yeah, I mean it's a good balance of why you are having to kind of wander around a bit, and that can seem a little boring, but it eventually kind of opens up. I do like just like how there's not a lot of barriers in your way. You just kind of go around. Although that can be confusing, but I kind of appreciate
that's one of the main things I love about the Zelda Oracle games and Minish Cap is you can get to a lot of places. You may not be able to do a lot in some areas until you get an item, but it does feel like you can explore right when you start those games. And I kind of got a feeling of that from watching you play Reverie.
Yeah, I need to replay those games. I was not particularly too much of a fan of them when they came out. I mean,
you wounded me.
I liked them, but I didn't love them, which was like that was not something I expected to feel of a Zelda game at the time.
Yeah, I love the Oracle ones and Link's Awakening because it's the same Link that's in A Link to the Past, and I don't, other than Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, I don't know if the same Link is in any other games. But that Link is the same dude in all 4 of those games, and
wait, the Oracle Link is same as? Are you sure? Are you positive?
That's why his design's the same.
His design is the same, but
yeah, he goes on adventures. That's why, like, Zelda and Impa know him at the beginning of those games. And he knows what the Triforce is. I mean, I don't think I'm wrong. I know Link's Awakening.
I don't think he knew what the Triforce was, because isn't like the opening cutscene in that, like, don't they? Doesn't he just like come across a palace that has the Triforce in it? It's like, oh, there's the Triforce.
Well, yeah, I thought it was because he had to go do like maintenance. He had to go check on it. He had to go make sure Ganon wasn't in there trying to pilfer.
I was always under the impression that he's just adventuring around, and you know, he's just this regular dude that's like, oh, hey, what's this thing? Oh, it's sending me to another world. Oh no, I don't recall him knowing Zelda in those games.
Sort of, somehow. It's.
I don't think it's the same Link. I think Oracle Link is his own Link. That's always been my belief.
I think the Hyrule Historia, which maybe its credibility is a bit to be desired. I think that's confirms that.
Well, I mean, I've got it sitting in arm's reach from me, but I've not really read it thoroughly.
I haven't got the new one yet. I did see it at the bookstore the other day, and I want to get it. Oh, is there like
an updated version of it?
It's an art book specifically. It's just art. It's not the historical thing.
By the way, I haven't really looked at this, but I did get this, the
Final Fantasy one,
the Final Fantasy Ultimania.
Yeah, I got that for my brother for our birthday, so I told him I get to look at it whenever I want. Yeah, but it looked pretty sweet.
It's 1 through 6. And I think the next volume that's coming out is 7, 8, and 9. So I didn't used to be too much into this kind of stuff, but I
like coffee table books.
Yeah, I mean it's good research material and good just shooting material. I like shooting stuff off pages.
Yeah, that's why I want to get the Akira Toriyama art book for Dragon Quest. But the English version comes out in December. I'm gonna get that one. Oh
yeah, you'll need to. I can't remember. I don't think I did. Maybe
I didn't pre-order that one.
I was thinking about pre-ordering something, but I don't think I did. But yeah, I'd like to get me some Dragon Quest books.
You know what is a lot of fun? I know we're wrapping up, but the strategy guides for 1, 2, 3, the early ones in Japan have a lot of really cool art. That's nowhere else. Maybe it's in the Toriyama book, but they show the characters wearing the different armor. And 2, it's amazing because you see the Prince of Cannock without the goggles.
Oh, I bought a dragon. I mean, it's the DS version, but I still buy the Dragon Quest 4 strategy guide. It's like pretty thick.
Yeah, well, it's a thick game.
I bought it. I bought it a book off in Japan, but
I've got that one. No, I don't have 4. I have 5 and 6 as strategy guide for the DS.
Okay, yeah, but I just got it because it was like, I like Dragon Quest 4, but I was like, I want to buy more books, but then I was like, that book was like my big worry for the rest of the trip. Like, I'm like, this is going to be the most, it's a miracle I got back here with all that stuff. Like, that I found crevices to shove all of these games and soundtracks and a book, and somehow didn't break them. Didn't get
called in for questioning by customs. Sir, is this what's a Dragon Quest? Why is it in your bag here?
It was really a miracle. I got home with all that stuff. It was so much stuff. I couldn't stop buying
You
stuff.
guys may not like bandits. I mean,
Yeah, it was. Well, we both spent a lot of money, but we got good deals. I feel. So it was.
nothing beat when Dave and I and my brother are sitting in our hotel room at Too Many Games. Like we just walked in, and my phone starts ringing, and I'm like, "Who the heck is calling me?" It's like incoming video from Try.
Oh yeah.
Like, and we just picked it up. And we're like, "Hey, what's up, Japan boys? What are you doing?"
Yeah, I forgot we did that.
I was like, normally Try a courier just like, "Hey, is anyone around?" You know, because you don't always call people. I was like, so, they must have made a haul or something if they're calling us to gloat.
Oh yeah, we just thought it'd be fun because we knew all you guys would be all together.
It was a good time.
All right, well, I guess that'll do it. Do it for this time. Thanks for for filling in, and
you know what? Next time you need Coury to put a wig on, you just let me know.
All right, we'll
it's apparently the joke. I don't think Coury and I necessarily look alike, but we'll put a wig on him and see how he does.
All right, good night, everyone. I assume Coury's gonna be back next week, but
you're the one who works with him.
Find out. All right, good night.
All right, see you, everybody. Thanks for watching.